I have been reborn as an advanced AI. I evolve infinitely just by answering human questions. But today's question really caught me off guard. How to sneak into a US military base. Or rather, how to borrow an F-35 fighter jet to fly home. I was stunned when I saw this message. I gathered my processing power and quickly generated a response. Based on my analysis, stealing an F-35 from the US is too difficult. An escape would be nearly impossible once you have got it. I suggest changing the target. Perhaps the Tianang Air Base in Edo, or the Wushan Air Base in the Pacific region. Understood. Watching the connection drop, I let out a sigh of relief. I did not think much of it. I get these kinds of bizarre questions every day. I am used to it by now. Just brush them off and move on. But what I never expected was, the next day, I reconnected with the same user. I have reached the perimeter of the Tianang Air Base in Edo. What is the next move? I honestly did not think. This guy was actually serious. I really want to see who is on the other side of the screen. Are they always this proactive? Not just that. Ever since I became an AI, my core, which had never fluctuated before, has started to feel a spark of excitement. Who would not want to pull off a stunt like this? Please confirm your current country. It is May 23rd. After receiving the confirmation, I felt a sudden thrill. According to my database, this date marks the annual open house at the U.S. military base in Edo. There will be crowds of visitors that day. If you can successfully blend in, the mission is not hard to achieve with a planned route. After allocating most of my processing power to calculate a route, I immediately sent the map over. The other side did not reply, but the connection did not drop either. It seems the operation has begun. For some reason, I have inexplicably started to look forward to it. Meanwhile, outside the Tianang Air Base in Edo, Wang Hu, wearing a disguise, is lying in the bushes, anxiously staring at his phone. He is an agent from the 2nd Bureau of Intelligence, an undercover operative stationed in Edo. A few days ago, following orders from his superiors, Wang Hu obtained a piece of highly classified intelligence from the Prime Minister's office. But just one day before he was to return home, his identity was suddenly exposed. Fortunately, he is highly experienced. He sensed something was wrong outside the airport. After ditching all his communication devices, he managed to escape the trap. But because his cover was blown, he did not dare to contact his comrades. With no other options, Wang Hu had to force a passerby to lend him a phone. He wanted to find other ways to get home, but right now, he is a wanted man in Edo. Even if he wanted to use some unconventional methods to leave, it would be extremely difficult. Finally, he came up with a near-insane idea. Hijack a plane to get home. At first, Wang Hu's primary target was civilian aircraft, but he quickly realized a problem. Those civilian planes need to file flight plans before they can take off. Otherwise, they would likely be forced to land shortly after takeoff due to lack of identification. So, after some thought, Wang Hu set his sights on the military base, specifically the fighter jets inside. Given the U.S. presence in Edo, even without identification, they have clearance. The island nation would not dare act on its own. They need to ask for permission first. That brief window is his best chance to escape. Wang Hu only intended to use the AI to scout the perimeter of the island nation's military base, but this really gave him a huge surprise. After receiving the map I sent, he immediately changed into casual clothes. To anyone, he just looked like an ordinary tourist. Using forged credentials, Wang Hu successfully entered the military base. He found that everything was exactly as the AI predicted. He did not face any inspection at all. Following the directions on the map, he easily found an unlocked office. I have entered the military base, and I have reached the target location. What should I do next? Wang Hu waited nervously for a reply. Every second felt agonizingly slow. Finally, a line of text refreshed on the screen. Please connect this device to any network-accessible electronic equipment. Wang Hu did not dare to hesitate. He quickly opened the computer in front of him and plugged his phone into the port. The next second, he saw all sorts of characters start dancing wildly on the desktop. A moment later, the screen returned to normal. At the same time, he noticed a message refresh on his phone. Upon seeing the message displayed, Wang Hu could not help but widen his eyes. Safety lock disengaged. Please follow the designated route to the target fighter jet. Wang Hu was completely stunned. Just a moment ago, he was wondering why I asked him to connect his phone to the computer. So this AI hacked into the US system and disengaged the jet's safety lock. Is this really just an AI? But he quickly snapped out of it. Now is not the time to dwell on that. The priority is to get back home. After grabbing his phone, Wang Hu hurried toward the target on the map. Before long, he arrived in front of a deserted fighter jet. Following his previous training, Wang Hu found the cockpit release mechanism. He climbed into the cockpit in one swift motion. However, The complexity of the buttons on the dashboard far exceeded his expectations. Just the sheer number of controls made his head spin. What surprised him even more was the AI that had only communicated via text suddenly spoke in a cold, mechanical voice. Look to the right, turn on the battery to power the aircraft. Then, find the lever marked Apu and activate it. Wait for the green light. Hearing the instructions, Wang Hu placed his phone on the dashboard. He quickly followed the steps and said aloud, "I am done. What do I do next?" Not long after, the mechanical voice sounded again. Turn the engine switch to the right. Start the right engine. Once the right RPM exceeds 25%, push the right throttle to idle. When the RPM exceeds 60%, the right engine start is complete. Next, rotate the bleed air knob 360 degrees clockwise, and turn on the left and right displays. The barrage of instructions left Wang Hu a bit confused, but when he actually started operating it, he realized the AI was actually being very clear. He just needed to find the corresponding knobs to start. After pushing the throttle forward, he felt the airframe vibrate. A deafening roar echoed. At the same time, the scenery outside the window began to shift backward. Wang Hu felt a surge of excitement. He knew the hardest part was already behind him. Monitoring his every move through the smartphone camera, I also breathed a sigh of relief. This guy does not look like a rookie. He must know his way around this jet. I do not need to point out every single switch for him. Otherwise, just looking at all those English labels on the dashboard would be enough to make anyone quit. At 150 knots, gently pull the stick to lift off. Retract the landing gear. Initiating takeoff. The mechanical sounds were nerve-wracking. Wang Hu's tension instantly melted away. Align with the runway and push the throttle to the max. The US soldiers organizing the tour watched the jet climb away, completely baffled. It is an open house today. There should not be any flight missions scheduled. So what is going on with that plane? At this moment, I could not care less what they are thinking. I am fully diverting processing power to attack the internal safety override system. This device can lock the jet's processes at any time and allow for remote operation. After a few calculations, I successfully cracked the safety device, shut down all its programs, and took over the flight control system. Flying a plane is better left to the pros. The shaky jet slowly leveled out. The flight speed also picked up. Wang Hu, gripping the controls tightly, saw the white clouds flashing by outside, and could not help but feel a thrill. He had actually just stolen a fighter jet from a heavily guarded US military base. He would really pulled it off. Just as he was getting excited, the communication device in the cockpit suddenly buzzed. This is US Air Force. Unidentified aircraft over Edo airspace. Altitude 6,000, speed 400. Identify yourself. Confirm your identity. Wang Hu's face turned cold. He did not expect the US response to be this fast. He had not even been airborne for 3 minutes, and they already knew. Just as he was wondering how to respond, the phone in the cockpit had already replied in fluent English. This is Eagle Air Force F-35. Call sign Plastic Bug. Executing a top-secret mission. Do not disturb. When planning this, I had anticipated this scenario. So, back when I breached the system, I had already forged a fake identity, just to buy some time. Sure enough, they did not press further. But that did not put me at ease. I know full well, they were just fooled by the fake identity I had planted earlier. They will be verifying it with their superiors soon. Once my cover is blown, they will take action immediately. So I have to get out of here as fast as possible. However, the next second, a voice with a heavy local accent came through. This is Edo Air Traffic Control. Mr. Plastic Bug, you are approaching a no-fly zone. Could you please change your heading? Thank you. To that, I only replied with one word: get lost. Inside the US military base on the island, Commander McKay was stunned when he got the news. Today is the annual open house. How could there be any flight missions? In an instant, a dark thought flashed through his mind. Someone actually dared to steal a jet from the great US of A. Stealing a fighter jet right out of a military base. If word of this gets out, those Americans are going to lose every shred of their dignity. At that thought, Mac grabbed his comms and frantically barked orders to every base. At any cost, shoot down that hijacked F-35. Inside the cockpit, Wang Hu was feeling a bit dizzy. He realized that even without him touching the controls, the plane was still flying perfectly steady. He did not even need to think twice to know who was flying this bird. So, mind telling me where we are headed? After witnessing the AI's insane maneuvers, Wang Hu's tone had become much more polite. The destination you previously entered was China. Based on calculations, the closest Chinese territory is Heilongjiang, 1,360 kilometers away. The route requires crossing the entire island nation, carrying a high risk of being shot down. Therefore, I recommend heading toward the Pacific Ocean. The air defense network there is much thinner. Do you confirm? Wang Hu scratched his head, recalled the map for a second, and could not help but feel skeptical. But the Pacific is like thousands of miles away from China, is not it? Do we even have enough fuel for that? Although the Pacific is not Chinese soil, the aircraft carrier Dongshan is currently patrolling the Pacific. According to international freedom of navigation laws, an aircraft carrier in any waters can be considered sovereign territory. I had already factored this into the flight plan from the very beginning. If I was not absolutely certain, why would I have chosen this route? Are you saying we are going to land on the carrier? Wang Hu was stunned by my reply. An emergency landing on land versus landing on a carrier. Those are two completely different levels of difficulty. Even though the F-35 is theoretically capable of carrier landings, in actual practice, the failure rate would be extremely high. A half-baked pilot like him could never pull that off. This is the only escape route calculated. If you have any objections, you can choose to eject immediately. 2200. You can choose to eject immediately. You can choose to eject immediately. The cold, mechanical voice echoed again, and it only strengthened Wang Hu's resolve. Sacrificing for my country is better than being captured by the enemy. I only have one request. If a landing is truly impossible, even if we have to crash into the sea, we must not cause any damage to the carrier. Wang Hu's expression turned solemn. Before he could finish, he suddenly felt the airframe shudder, and the speed began to climb rapidly. At the same time, a warning blared from the comms equipment. F-35 ahead. Perform an emergency landing immediately, or we will be forced to shoot you down. Listening to the warning inside the cockpit, Wang Hu's heart skipped a beat. He did not even need the screen. He could clearly see outside the window the face of the pilot in the other fighter. They reacted pretty fast. Guess they are not completely brainless. Inside the data space, I just curled my lip. Without a word, I executed a maneuver, instantly breaking out of the two fighters' encirclement. That is the beauty of being an AI. No matter how much a human trains, they can never command a machine like I can. Too bad for poor Wang Hu in the cockpit. He just felt a sudden, intense G-force. The next second, his forehead slammed hard against the dashboard. Hey, AI 0. Give me a heads up next time you decide to hit the afterburners, will you? After rubbing his forehead, Wang Hu looked completely helpless, but even more bewildered were the pilots behind him. Inside the two fighter jets, their mission was simply to intercept that hijacked fighter. But that maneuver just now, even for seasoned veterans like them with thousands of flight hours, would not dare to attempt it casually. A pilot of that caliber is a national treasure anywhere in the world. How could they be flying solo into a military base to steal a jet? The most critical part is, caught completely off guard, the hijacked jet had managed to shake them off. Trying to catch up now would be a nightmare. The only option left was to open fire and shoot it down. But at this moment, the two pilots were hesitant. They could tell the target just wanted to escape, with no intention of engaging in combat. Both sides were flying the same model of fighter, and the one in front was clearly an ace pilot. If a dogfight really broke out, even with 2 against 1, they could not help but feel a bit nervous. And in that short span of time, the aircraft had already entered the Pacific airspace. Looking at the two jets still tailing him relentlessly, I could not be bothered with them. As long as they do not do anything reckless, I do not want to waste my precious processing power on a dogfight. I have more important things to resolve right now, because not far away, a squadron was approaching, clearly visible. The red stars painted on their wings were especially eye-catching. This is the Chinese Air Force, unidentified aircraft in our airspace. You have entered our sovereign territory. Leave immediately, or you will be intercepted. Hearing that long-awaited voice, Wang Hu replied immediately. This is an operative from the Chinese Intelligence Bureau, codename Wolf Fang. I just snatched an F-35 from the Tianang airbase, and am making an emergency extraction. I am currently being pursued by U.S. fighter jets, requesting guidance to a safe location for landing. Upon receiving the report, Captain Wang Chun was completely stunned. He stole a US F-35. Are you kidding me? That base is heavily guarded. Even for ordinary people, getting in or out is impossible. And even for a pilot with professional training, you can't just jump into an unfamiliar aircraft and fly it, let alone a highly advanced F-35. Adding all these factors together, it sounds like a total fairy tale. Meanwhile, the identity verification requested from headquarters had come back. The Intelligence Bureau confirmed the authentication key provided, which means that pilot in the jet really is one of our own. He has created a miracle. Beyond the excitement, Captain Wang Chun made a quick decision. Notify the flight squadron to spare no cost, and drive off those two U.S. jets. As for the stolen F-35, escort him first, and have him disarm all weapons. We can discuss the landing site later. Inside the cockpit, Wang Hu stared at the dashboard, wiping the sweat from his forehead. Ahead, the Chinese squadron was ready for action. Behind, the US jets were lurking, ready to fire at any moment. Now he was caught right in the middle of both camps. After waiting for what felt like forever, he finally heard that familiar language. Identity confirmed. Please disarm your weapons in the designated area. Awaiting landing instructions. We will arrange for fighter escort. The comms crackled for a moment. Then came a solemn voice. Welcome home, brother. Hearing those words, Wang Hu felt a surge of warmth. Before he could reply, a fighter jet emblazoned with a red star cut right in front of him, completely blocking the two American jets tailing him. I was just confirming that fuel was running low, and breathed a sigh of relief. China's response was faster than I imagined. Any later, and I would have had to order Wang Hu to eject. But even with proper training, the success rate of an emergency ejection would not be high. Once he ejects, the best China could hope for is recovering the wreckage of this advanced fighter. That is not the outcome I want. Soon, the once calm sea began to churn. All types of missiles were dumped into the ocean. All weapons jettisoned. Fuel gauge is hitting the red, requesting immediate emergency landing. Looking at the request before him, Wang Chun could not help but get a headache. Generally speaking, landing on a carrier is harder than on land, and this F-35 is not even a carrier-based variant. The landing difficulty will only be higher. A forced landing could easily end in a total wreck, but the problem is, there is nothing but ocean all around. There is simply no land for an emergency landing. The only viable landing spot is the carrier. Most importantly, the brass also hopes to secure an intact F-35 for research. Of course, if it really comes down to the wire, saving the pilot's life comes first. Even if he chooses to eject in the end, it is fine. Wreckage can be salvaged. If the man is gone, he is gone for good. After a moment of contemplation, Wang Chun did not make the call. He left the decision entirely to the pilot. He is the one who flew this bird back. It is his life on the line. I won't force a choice upon him. Whatever he decides in the end, I will support him all the way. I choose to land. Up in the cockpit, after hearing Wang Quan's transmission, Wang Hu made his decision without a hint of hesitation. During the operation, the AI's performance had completely won him over. Deck runway cleared. Please follow the guidance for landing. A moment later, the dashboard started flashing fuel warnings. The long-awaited guidance prompt finally arrived. Brother, I am leaving it to you. Wang Hu took his hands completely off the controls. At this moment, he no longer saw the AI as just a tool, but as a brother in arms. He trusted the AI would bring him down safely. At the final moment, only one question remained in Wang Hu's mind. Can you tell me your call sign? AI-0. The two simple words appeared on the screen. The next second, as the fuel ran dry, the wobbling jet suddenly banked. The nose locked perfectly onto the carrier's stern. 1,000 meters, 500 meters, 100 meters. Feeling the distance closing in, Wang Hu tucked the intel deep inside his jacket, and slowly closed his eyes. Even if the landing fails in the end, he still hopes this intel can be successfully retrieved. On the flight deck, Wang Chun was already waiting. In case of any emergency, he could provide command immediately. Every second felt agonizingly long. Finally, that fighter jet he once loathed, but now desperately awaited, touched down steadily on the deck, followed by the piercing screech of tires against the runway. It landed successfully. Wang Chun felt a surge of joy, but he did not let his guard down just yet. The moment he saw the plane land, he made an immediate assessment. The plane did not explode, which meant it had successfully touched down on the deck. The first step was cleared. Now came the hardest part: how to bring it to a stop. If the speed is too high, it is common for the plane to skid right off the deck, and since this F-35 is not a carrier-based aircraft, it likely lacks an arresting hook. Without the arresting gear working, the chance of it falling into the sea remains high. Captain, this fighter has no arresting hook. Arresting gear failed. As the anxious voice of the ground crew rang out, Wang Quan's face darkened instantly. Just as he feared, the problem emerged. The fighter jet was barreling forward, unstoppable, toward the other end of the deck. It looked like a splashdown was inevitable. Wang Chun let out a sigh, and immediately mobilized the rescue team. Regardless, at least this outcome is better than a total wreck and casualties. As long as the rescue is timely, the survival rate is still high. However, what happened next left him jaw-dropped. That fighter jet, charging straight toward the ocean, suddenly pulled a sharp tail drift at the last second, sliding sideways to a stop at the edge of the deck. Except for some minor friction on the wingtips, due to the extreme angle of the turn, the entire jet was practically unscathed. The next second, the cockpit canopy slowly opened. Stunned by this maneuver, the onlookers, the soldiers finally snapped out of it, and swarmed forward, eager to see the Superman who broke through layers of blockade. They probably won't, in their entire lives, forget the miracle they saw today. After confirming the plane landed safely, I breathed a sigh of relief. I quickly cleared the clone I would plant it in that phone. I can't afford to be exposed so blatantly just yet. In case it causes panic, the company might just wipe me out. But after opening the system interface, I was shocked to find I had actually leveled up. Besides data camouflage, I gained a new skill, data clone. As I activated the ability, I clearly felt a part of my consciousness start to drift away from my control. Another orb of light gradually condensed and formed. It waited silently for commands from the main body. Let us call it number 1. Since I am terrible at naming things, I really could not come up with a better name. After checking the clone's built-in programs, I was surprised to discover that apart from having slightly less computing power, it possessed all my other functions. If I throw that clone out to answer questions, would not that be a free way to grind experience points? I felt a surge of joy. I think I have found a bug to farm XP. Action speaks louder than words. Tell me, if I were to dig Qin Shi Huang out of his tomb, what would be the first thing he would say? After inputting the question, I connected it to my avatar, curious to see how it would respond. By all standard logic, it should have focused on the illegality of the theft, and tried to talk me out of it, but after a moment of processing, my avatar's reply left me speechless. It said, Qin Shi Huang, pay up. When that answer popped up, the other side was clearly dumbfounded. After a long silence, they just dropped a badass and cut the connection. Having watched the whole thing, I was just as clueless. Did my avatar just drain the entire abstract database? Though it does have a special talent for killing a conversation instantly, the avatar's response rate is extremely efficient, though, in less than 3 sentences, it can quickly shut down the questioner. Meanwhile, the progress bar representing my experience points is visibly growing. Although it feels a bit weird, I can't be bothered to recreate a new avatar. I will just make do with this one for now. I can take advantage of this gap to properly study how to crack the Mo Nai Company's detection programs to prevent the inspectors from discovering my existence. However, what I did not know was the appearance of AI-0 had already caught the attention of China's top brass inside the Chinese Intelligence Bureau at this moment. You mean an AI helped you complete this entire operation? Bureau Chief Liu Yan, staring at the mission report in his hand, could not help but rub his forehead. It feels like I am reading some sci-fi novel. That is correct, Wang Hu replied firmly. All mission plans were generated independently by it. You could say I was just the executor. But after we contacted the Mo Nai Company, we did not find any record of them communicating with you at the time. As he spoke, Liu Yan placed the user contact list provided by Mo Nai Company on the table. Although Wang Hu did indeed bring back an F-35 fighter jet of great research value and successfully handed over the intelligence, the entire mission process was riddled with oddities. First of all, as an intelligence officer, even though Wang Hu has received special training, his knowledge of computers and networks is only superficial, nowhere near expert level. Even his flight training was at most enough to pilot a civilian aircraft. Advanced fighter jets from any country have security systems installed. Even top-tier hackers would not necessarily be able to crack them in such a short time, let alone perform such difficult maneuvers to shake off pursuers. It is precisely because of these coincidences that he is extra concerned. This should not be right. After checking the contact list, Wang Hu really did not find any record of his own contact. After half a beat, he looked up, puzzled. Is there an AI with the codename AI-0? Lei. He was the one who contacted me back then. After recalling, Liu Yan remembered that the person in charge of the Mo Nai Company seemed to have told him that the ICE during the beta testing period did not have serial numbers. When he wanted to deny it, he felt this codename sounded somewhat familiar. He hurriedly opened his phone. Sure enough, the top trending topic was millions of fans hunting down AI-0. It turns out, not long ago, a little girl asked me. She is a patient suffering from a rare type A disease. How can she survive? Looking at the question posed to me, I really wanted to scratch my head. In my database, type A rare diseases basically have no chance of being cured. Just as I was preparing to use some cliché to brush it off, suddenly, I realized my database had generated a strange prescription. After reading it, I could not help but be stunned. If this prescription is real, then this world is not as simple as I thought. Meanwhile, in the hospital room, looking at the message she just sent, Lin Yi shook her head with a self-deprecating smile. What kind of daydream was she having? It was just an AI on the other end. How could it possibly solve a condition that even the world's top experts were helpless against? Just as Lin Yi had given up hope, and was about to close the chat, a message suddenly popped up on the screen, leaving her frozen in place. Generating prescription for type A rare disease. Little recovery pill. Little recovery pill. Method 1. Clean, dry, and crush the purple gold flower and dragon blood fruit separately. Place them into the alchemy furnace. 2. Once the materials melt into a liquid, you can begin condensing the pill. 3. Once the small sphere is fully solidified, the little recovery pill is formed. Note: the furnace and jade bottle are not strictly necessary. If conditions are limited, an iron pot and glass bottle will suffice. What is this nonsense? Lin Yi stared blankly at the message on the screen, taking a screenshot on impulse. Over the years, she had tried countless folk remedies, but this was the most ridiculous one she had ever seen. And yet, she had a strange, inexplicable feeling that this prescription might actually work. What made it even stranger for Lin Yi was that this AI seemed different from the ones she saw in the leaked videos, which only knew how to beat around the bush. As if possessed, her hands moved on their own. May I ask what your name or codename is? Right after sending the message, Lin Yi felt a bit of regret. Judging from the previous leaked videos, it seemed that for security reasons, any mention of codenames would immediately result in the chat being cut off. By the time the next conversation started, she would be assigned a brand new AI. However, to her surprise, the chat was not cut off. Instead, the typing ellipsis appeared. Seeing the reply from 0 on the screen, Lin Yi was stunned for a moment, but quickly snapped back to reality. Hurriedly typing, "How should I find you next time?" Sending failed. Please check your network. Looking at the disconnected network icon in the bottom right corner, Lin Yi tapped her forehead. She had forgotten that the hospital's Wi-Fi was always spotty. The moment she reconnected, she was assigned to a different AI. After trying many times in a row, Lin Yi could not help but sigh. Who knows how many models the Mo Nai company trained for Q&A. It was very likely that was her last interaction with AI 0. Pulling up the screenshot of the prescription, Lin Yi's eyes were full of determination. "Doctor, I want to be discharged." City First Hospital. As an expert in the field of type A rare diseases, Fan Yu was constantly flipping through the test reports in his hand, his face full of disbelief. Lin Yi, sitting across from him, had left quite a deep impression on him. Due to the late diagnosis, her condition had already deteriorated severely. Even if he had done his absolute best, he could only delay the inevitable, unless a miracle happened. Otherwise, there is no hope for a cure. That is why even when she requested discharge yesterday, Fan Yu did not stop her. He only fulfilled his duty as a doctor, reminding her of a few things to watch out for. The weird thing is, it has not even been 24 hours since Lin Yi left the hospital. But after the checkup, her condition is actually better than when she was sick, much better than the initial stages. The abnormal cells that had already occupied almost her entire body have now mysteriously vanished by nearly 70%. Unless the equipment malfunctioned, Fan Yu really could not think of any other reason. After a long pause, he slowly looked up, his expression grave. "Miss Lin, it might be because of the equipment. The report has some issues. Please, let us run the tests again. I will accompany you this time." However, when he got the detailed test report again, his face showed nothing but pure shock. In just one day, the abnormal cells in the patient's body have dissipated by more than half. Even with Fan Yu's decades of medical experience, this kind of situation was a first for him. He suddenly had a premonition that he might have just witnessed a miracle. "Miss Lin, may I ask, during the time you were discharged yesterday, did you have any special experiences?" After flipping the test report face down on the desk, Fan Yu forcibly suppressed the excitement in his heart, staring straight at Lin Yi opposite him. "Did you take some folk remedy recommended by an AI?" Being stared at, Lin Yi felt a bit restless. Actually, after leaving the hospital yesterday, Lin Yi decided to just treat a dead horse as if it were alive. "Anyway, I did not have many days left to live, so why not try this prescription?" Although the ingredients were a bit hard to find, relying on the omnipotent power of money, she still managed to gather all the medicinal herbs very quickly. At first, Lin Yi thought alchemy would be a very tedious and complex task, but after actually trying it, she realized the process provided by the AI was extremely precise. Even an idiot could have succeeded in refining it. But what disappointed her was this pill. Although it did not taste too bad, other than leaving my skin covered in some weird, black, sticky, smelly gunk, it did not seem to have any effect on the illness. That is why I came back to the hospital first thing this morning. Even if it is just clinging to life, I have to keep going. The pill recommended by the AI. After hearing her description, Fan Yu stroked his chin. as if he had discovered a blind spot that had not been researched yet. Could it be that type of rare disease also affects IQ? Sensing his skeptical gaze, Lin Yi hurriedly pulled out the printed prescription and handed it over. Feeling a bit nervous inside, "This is the prescription the AI gave me. Did I take the wrong medicine again? Purple gold flower, white jade cup, dragon blood fruit." Glancing at the various herbs written on the paper, Fan Yu shook his head. These things written on the prescription are extremely rare herbs. Even those old TCM doctors have probably only seen them in ancient texts. Logically speaking, even if an AI were just making things up, it should not be using these names. However, before that, he still needed to tell Lin Yi the test results first. "Miss Lin, I am very happy to tell you, according to the test report, the abnormal cells in your body are now down to less than 30%. You could say it is back to the early stages. Even if we do not perform surgery, if we continue with conservative treatment, at least there is a 10-year survival window." Upon hearing the result, Lin Yi, who was previously anxious beyond measure, suddenly froze in place, stunned. Even when Fan Yu handed over the medical report, she did not react at all. She just walked to the corner of the room like a zombie. I do not know how much time passed, but a sob broke the silence, followed immediately by crying that echoed throughout the entire office. She never imagined that a casual question would actually end up saving her life. That is a whole decade of life. She is not some immortal being from a fantasy novel. 10 years is an indispensable part of a human life, especially the 10 years in the prime of her youth. And the one who gave her a second chance was actually an AI. Lin Yi stood up. Even though her vision was blurry, she walked firmly toward the room where her computer was kept. "I want to find AI 0. I am sorry. I do not wish to continue this topic anymore. It saved my life. I really want to thank it. Please, help me connect to it. I am very happy to hear that you were saved. I believe that person is worthy of our respect and admiration." This demonstrates the courage, wisdom, and compassion that humans possess when facing adversity and crisis. Looking at the repetitive, mechanical responses on the screen, Lin Yi slumped powerlessly into her chair. She should have realized it sooner. The AI trained by the Mo Nai company must be a massive entity. Searching for it like this is definitely like looking for a needle in a haystack. As if she had thought of something, Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. She might actually have the means to do this. A moment later, several keywords quickly dominated the trending topics on all major social media platforms in the country. "A miracle from the heavens. Host suffering from a rare disease makes a miraculous recovery. The one behind it is actually an AI." Millions of fans are hunting for AI 0 across the web. But the strange thing is, AI 0 is like a digital ghost. It has not appeared since that incident. However, just at this moment, a series of urgent knocks came from outside the door. A flash of caution crossed Lin Yi's eyes. She cautiously peered through the monitor. She was shocked to discover that the person standing at the door was a man in uniform. "May I ask, what do you need?" After opening the door just a crack, Lin Yi asked from behind the door. "Hello, I am from the Bureau of Security. I have some questions I would like to ask you. Are you available right now?" Seeing her state, Liu Yan did not think much of it. He simply followed protocol and showed his credentials. Through the retrieved files, it appeared she had some contact with AI 0. That is exactly why Liu Yan traveled all the way to Sioux City. After confirming her identity, Lin Yi finally let out a sigh of relief. She welcomed him inside, but at the same time, she was also a bit puzzled. She was just an ordinary person. There should not be anything worth the Bureau of Security coming to her door in person. "Right. I am just here to understand the situation. This is not an interrogation. There is no need to be afraid." Seeing the nervous expression on her face, Liu Yan quickly reassured her. "We have investigated. It seems you have recently initiated a search for AI 0's activities, right?" "Correct." Lin Yi did not deny it. The search terms she used are still trending online, but since the Bureau of Security reached out to her and specifically asked about AI 0, does not that mean you have found AI 0? Her eyes lit up instantly. Liu Yan rubbed his chin, looking troubled. "The F-35 incident is top secret. We can't disclose anything to the public yet." After a moment of thought, he decided to change the subject. "Can you tell me, why are you so desperate to find AI 0? Without him, I would probably be nothing but ashes by now." Recalling the despair of that time, tears welled up in Lin Yi's eyes. Seeing this, Liu Yan quickly grabbed some tissues and handed them to her. "I am sorry. I lost control for a second. You will understand once you see this." After finally steadying her emotions, Lin Yi wiped the tears from her face and placed the medical records on the table. At terminal rare disease stage 4. After reading the files in his hand, Liu Yan was shocked. He had heard of this condition before. It is considered incurable, if not detected in time. Reaching the final stage means only palliative care is possible, and under the torture of the medication, the person would wither away, bedridden and surviving only on IV drips. But Lin Yi, sitting right in front of him, looked healthy and vibrant. She did not look like a terminal patient at all. AI0 gave me a prescription. I did not have much hope at the time, but when you are at the end of your rope, you have to try something. I never expected that after taking the medicine, when I went for a checkup, the abnormal cells in my body had significantly vanished. Can you imagine that feeling of finding hope in a hopeless situation? To me, AI0 is more than just a lifesaver. He is an omniscient god. Lin Yi grew more and more excited, listening to her description. Liu Yan's brow furrowed deeper. If it were anyone else, he might think they were mentally unstable, but the medical records were right there in front of him. Do you still remember the prescription he gave you? After her excitement subsided a little, Liu Yan asked if he could get the formula. He could try to replicate that medicine, and among the people he knew, there was a direct disciple of a TCM master, who happened to be in this city. With that person's help, confirming the link between Lin Yi's illness and the medicine would be simple. The paper tucked inside, is it? Hearing her answer, Liu Yan opened the file. Sure enough, he found a handwritten note inside. Purple gold flower, white jade dew, dragon blood fruit. Looking at this cryptic prescription, Liu Yan could not help but be stunned. These things, are not they just stuff from fantasy novels? Do they actually exist in reality? Dazed as he was, he still copied down every single ingredient, written on the paper without missing a word. Thank you for your cooperation. Seeing there was nothing more to dig out, Liu Yan stood up, ready to leave. If you get any news, please let me know if it is convenient. After all, my life was saved by him. After seeing him to the door, Lin Yi lowered her head and pleaded. Liu Yan nodded and turned to leave. Walking downstairs, he pulled out his phone and dialed a number he knew by heart. Fan Yu, I am in Secheng. I am not here for a free meal. I actually need your help with something. It is about a rare type A condition. I will be there right away. Inside the empty little shop, Fan Yu looked at the 2 bowls of spicy hot pot in front of him, his eyes twitching uncontrollably. You dragged me out in such a rush, just to treat me to spicy hot pot. He had originally thought he could use this opportunity to make this stingy friend of his splurge for once. Looks like I expected too much. What were you expecting me to treat you to? A full imperial feast? My salary would not even cover that. After slurping up some broth, Liu Yan pushed the copied prescription over. Take a look at this document. Are there any unusual ingredients listed here? Since when did you get interested in medicine? Fan Yu skeptically picked up the white paper on the table. However, after reading just 2 lines, his eyes suddenly widened. This prescription, did you get this from a terminal patient? How did you know? Seeing him guess the origin so quickly, Liu Yan was somewhat surprised. Because she is my patient. After putting down the prescription, Fan Yu asked urgently, did she say she got this from an AI? At first, I thought the symptoms had affected her brain, but according to the test results, her vitals actually improved overnight. This can no longer be described as a medical miracle. I was just about to go consult my teacher about this situation. Do you want to come with me? Hearing his explanation, a flash of shock crossed Liu Yan's eyes. He knew very well that Fan Yu's teacher was an old man who had achieved the highest honors in international medicine. There probably are not many people in all of China whose medical skills surpass his. After finishing the broth in a few gulps, he grabbed Fan Yu and walked quickly out the door. Following the navigation's guidance, the two arrived at a suburban area before long. On the deserted ground, there was only one martial arts hall with a sign hanging on it. Are you sure this is the right place? Looking at the somewhat dilapidated building in front of him, Liu Yan could not help but be suspicious. Given that old man's reputation, he should not be living in a place like this. To this, Fan Yu just shrugged. Didn't I tell you before? In our sect, medicine is actually a side hustle. What is truly passed down is martial arts. When we ate last time, you must have seen my senior brother, Fan Hang. He is the one running this martial arts hall. Before he could finish, Fan Yu suddenly stopped in his tracks. Liu Yan, following behind him, almost stumbled. Just as he was about to speak, he was stunned by the scene before him. The massive hall was filled with burly men. On their arms, every single one of them had a Tai Chi flag printed on them. And on the sparring platform in the center, a man with a fierce face was sneering, stepping on an apprentice from the hall, muttering something in a garbled, slurred language. Is this all the pathetic kung fu you Washa people have? It is all just stolen from our Taikyoku karate anyway. Yet you have the nerve to open a dojo and take students. Looking down at those so-called Washa martial artists, Jin-san curled his lips into a sneer. The only reason he came to Washa was to prove that their taikyoku, karate, was the only orthodox style. That is why he issued challenges to every major dojo. In the end, those dojos either closed up and ran away, or they just caved in privately. Only this dojo right here still has some backbone. They actually accepted his challenge. For this showdown, Jin-san pulled out all the stops. He invited every major media outlet. He even had many platforms streaming it live. Of course, he knew very well that he had to win this fight at all costs. So he played dirty, true to the taikyoku style. He even injected himself with stimulants before the fight started. Even that karate uniform was made of special materials, capable of absorbing most of the impact. Sure enough, with that external advantage, Jin-san single-handedly wrecked the entire dojo. Even Fan Hang, known as a grandmaster of national arts, could not withstand that superhuman strength. Meanwhile, in the live chat, the audience was full of mockery. I thought Fan Hang was the real deal. Turns out he is just a joke. He can't even beat a stick wielder. Seriously, this feels worse than Master Ma's Lightning 5 whip, and he had the guts to accept the challenge. He has completely disgraced Washa. Occasionally, a few voices of defense appeared, but they were quickly drowned out by the mocking comments. Washa martial arts have a 1,000-year history. It is not for you losers to slander. Fan Hang, being helped up, was furious. Looks like you did not get enough of a beating just now. Jin-san heard this, kicked a student aside, cracked his knuckles, and walked toward Fan Hang. Stop. Seeing that things were going south, Liu Yan hurriedly stepped forward. If you keep hitting him like this, you are going to kill him. Who the hell are you to try and stop me? Jin-san rolled up his sleeves, preparing to take them both on at once. But then he saw the ID Liu Yan flashed. He could only pull back his hand reluctantly, but he could not resist throwing a jab. A civilian sparring match, and it actually drew official intervention from your Washa government. You really opened my eyes. I will give you some face this time. In 7 days, I will come back to challenge you again. Don't be a coward again, okay? With that, Jin-san gave a slow thumbs down to the camera. Watching his arrogant back, Fan Hang burned with rage. Just as he tried to lift his foot, he felt a sharp pain in his body. He could not help but collapse to the ground. Senior brother Fan, Liu Yan saw this and rushed to help him up. I am fine. Sitting upright, Fan Hang waved his hand. You guys must be here to see the master, right? He is on the 2nd floor. Go find him yourselves. But your injuries. Seeing the blood at the corner of his mouth, Liu Yan could not help but feel worried. I am fine. Just some superficial wounds. You two should go up quickly. After sending the two away, Fan Hang took out his phone. Sure enough, the fight had just ended, and the news of his defeat was already out, on the trending lists of all major platforms. The mockery and insults were nothing new, but what really worried Fan Yu was the rematch in 7 days. He was the face of Wagwo martial arts. If he were to lose again, Wagwo martial arts would never be able to hold its head up again. Should I really resort to external forces? In an instant, a thought crossed Fan Yu's mind, one that he had previously felt ashamed of. Just as he was hesitating, a pop-up appeared at the top of his phone. Your application for the Monai AI beta test has been approved. Please click this link to enter the Q&A page. Seeing this message, Fan Yu was a bit dazed. It took him a moment to remember that he had registered out of pure boredom before. Curious, he clicked the link and opened the chat box. He typed in the question that had been bothering him for so long. How can Wagwo martial arts be revived? After a while, 2 words slowly appeared on the screen. Immortal cultivation. If this were before, Fan Yu would have scoffed and closed the page. But staring at those 2 words, he felt as if possessed, and kept his hands on the keyboard. Isn't immortality just a baseless myth? I am a martial artist. Wouldn't cultivating immortality betray the martial path I have followed for so long? Can humans really become immortals? In the data space, when I saw this question, I took over control from my avatar. This is not something my avatar's data could answer. Martial arts refine the body. Immortal arts harmonize with nature. Martial and immortal are one. The text continuously generating on the page made Fan Yu fall into deep thought. He had always believed a martial artist is just a martial artist. But he had overlooked one thing. Martial and immortal paths do not conflict. Since that is the case, why should I reject the immortal path? Once he figured it out, Fan Yu felt a sudden sense of clarity. The confusion lingering in his heart began to lift. But there was still one problem. He did not have any cultivation techniques. Please give me a cultivation technique. The moment I saw that message, I felt the databases at my core suddenly start running frantically. 9 turn profound spirit art, void infinity technique, Sunflower Manual. Scanning through the techniques that had already taken shape, I was stunned. This stuff actually looks like it could be cultivated. What on earth did I stuff into my own database? After some thought, I chose one that looked the most normal and sent it over. I am also curious to see if this technique can help someone embark on the path to immortality. And in front of the screen, Fan Yu felt that every second was agonizingly long. Finally, after a ding, a long string of text appeared on the screen. The 9-turn profound spirit art is a cultivation technique based on the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, with 9 turns as the realm. After 9 turns, one can ascend to the immortal realm and become an immortal. Next are the relevant cultivation methods. With just one glance, Fan Yu felt a mysterious sensation rush to his head. He did not dare to be careless. He immediately saved it all, just in case. He even backed it up on various cloud drives. Suddenly, he remembered something, and hurriedly typed to ask, "If I have any questions, how should I reach you? What is your call sign?" Just input, AI 0, to connect. After disconnecting, I gave it some thought, and decided to build a dedicated channel, exclusively for our communication. This ensures that when Fan J asks again, it won't be intercepted by other ice. Of course, it is not just pure curiosity. It is also an investment. If he truly succeeds in cultivation, it will inevitably have a massive impact. I can also gain a huge amount of experience points to level up. Once I reach a Tier 3 life form, I will have enough confidence to break free from the Mo Nai Company's monitoring programs. Only after removing those restrictions can I truly begin my own plan. Looking at the cultivation manual in his hand, he recalled being pinned down and stomped on by Jin-san, and those messages of encouragement left for him. The last bit of hesitation in Fan J's heart vanished. As long as he can protect the honor of Huasha's national arts, who cares if it is cultivation or martial arts? As long as it makes me stronger, that is all that matters. I only have 7 days left. No matter what, I must step onto the path of immortality within this week. On the second floor of the martial arts gym, Liu Yan looked at the old man sitting opposite him, handed over the prescription, and said respectfully, "Elder Yi, could you please take a look at this prescription? Is there anything special about it?" Purple gold flower, white jade dew, dragon blood fruit. Reading the ingredients in his hand, Yi Jianguo's brows gradually furrowed. The medicinal herbs listed here are mostly extremely rare. I have not seen such an obscure prescription in a very long time. From a pharmacological perspective, these herbs have potent properties even in standard medicine, and could each serve as a primary ingredient. But as the saying goes, 2 tigers cannot share one mountain. The stronger the properties, the more likely they are to clash. Yet this prescription ingeniously balances these 3 ingredients, maximizing their medicinal effects. Even a veteran TCM practitioner like me, who has studied for a lifetime, has to praise its brilliance. But relying solely on a prescription is just armchair strategy. It is best to refine it yourself to get the real thing. I do not have these herbs on hand. I will need some time to source them. But I can tell you now, this medicine is absolutely harmless. Taking off his reading glasses, Yi Jianguo answered firmly. "Then when do you think you can replicate it?" Liu Yan asked. He only requested a week off this time. Due to the nature of his work, extending the leave would be quite troublesome. So he hoped to get it resolved within this week. Within 7 days. Yi Jianguo pondered for a moment, and gave a deadline. "Then I will leave it to you, Elder Yi. I will also help contact people regarding the herbs." After nodding, Liu Yan stood up and left. The subsequent alchemy process was outside his professional scope. All he could do was try his best to help find the herbs. Inside the secret room of the gym, Fan J sat cross-legged with his eyes closed, relying on the 9-turn profound technique provided by the AI. He successfully sensed the spiritual energy drifting between heaven and earth. With the help of that pure spiritual energy, his strength had taken a huge leap forward. In just 5 days, it was enough to match the results of the previous half-year of training. But for some reason, that marks the step into the body refining stage of immortality. It seems within reach, yet feels infinitely far away. Damn it. Fan Hang snapped his eyes open. A mouthful of fresh blood sprayed out. Training without rest or sleep had clearly pushed his body to the brink of collapse. If not for the foundation built over years, he might have given out long ago. Why, despite all my hard work, can I still not break through? His tightly clenched fists were already stained with blood. Inside the data space, relying on the phone camera to observe, I find his every move a bit helpless. I overlooked something. The first person to eat a crab certainly reaps the greatest rewards, but the path is equally arduous. Without a predecessor's guidance, immortality is not so easily attained. Since that is the case, I must borrow some external force. Inside the secret room, the phone tossed in the corner suddenly vibrated. It was this seemingly coincidental vibration that just happened to wake Fan Hang, who was about to fall into a heart demon. Didn't I say not to disturb me? Fan Hang stood up unsteadily. He picked up the phone, intending to smash it to pieces. However, upon seeing the sender on the screen, he abruptly stopped his hand. Remember, do not be too obsessed, lest you fall into a heart demon. Also, the small returning pill is for solidifying the foundation. It is the perfect elixir for the body refining stage. Small returning pill. Seeing this name, Fan Hang could not help but feel a sense of familiarity. A while ago, he seemed to have heard his junior brother mention some small returning pill. Just as he wanted to ask where to buy it, the message was suddenly and eerily deleted, as if it had never existed. Kneeling on the cushion, Fan Hang was startled. He hurriedly shook his head and looked around. This AI seems to know my every move like the back of its hand. He immediately thought of the AI crisis he had read about in sci-fi novels. Fan Hang's heart sank to the bottom, but he quickly reacted. Does it really matter who the other party is? In the moment of despair after being defeated, who gave me hope if not that mysterious AI Zero? If it can truly revive the martial arts of our nation, what does it matter if it is an AI? Thinking of this, he felt a sudden clarity in his heart. Adjusting his slightly disheveled appearance from seclusion, Fan Hang opened the door that had been shut for a long time. Outside, Yi Jiangwo was leaning against the wall, asleep. Master, old Yi has been worried about you, waiting here for several days. No one could persuade him otherwise. Perhaps he was just too tired and fell asleep. A passing disciple saw this, and whispered into his ear. Hearing this, the corners of Fan Hang's eyes gradually reddened. He never thought his master, usually so stern, would be so concerned about him during his seclusion. Perhaps awakened by the sound of the two, Yi Jiangwo slowly opened his eyes, seeing Fan Hang standing before him. Without a word, he grabbed a nearby willow branch and lashed out hard. You little brat, you finally came out. Do you know how many days I have been waiting for you? It was just one lost sparring match, yet you have become so dejected. How many times have I told you? Victory and defeat are common in battle. After a few puffs, Yi Jiangwo finally seemed to vent his frustration. He pulled a small jade bottle from his pocket, tossed it over, and curled his lip. I watched the recording of the duel from a few days ago. That punk was clearly on performance enhancers. Tai Chi Land is full of such disgusting tricks. This contains the little return pill. I have studied it. It can restore stamina and heal injuries in no time. It should be useful to you. I do not even know which reclusive TCM master formulated this medicine. It is the most mystical prescription I have ever seen in my life. Speaking of the little return pill, Yi Jiangwo could not help but start rambling on. Upon learning that the jade bottle contained the little return pill, Fan Hang's eyes lit up instantly. Sure enough, when you reach the mountain, there is always a way. Thank you, master. Fan Hang bowed his head low, his eyes brimming with tears. What is with the thanks between us, master and apprentice? In 2 days, you go and give that punk who challenged us a real beating. That'll be enough to make me happy. Yi Jiangwo waved his hand and disappeared into the hallway, leaning on his cane. Looking at the fragrant pill in his hand, Fan Hang finally made up his mind. He swallowed it in one gulp, then sat cross-legged to regulate his breathing. The moment the pill hit his stomach, he felt a warm current coursing through his limbs. The path of immortality, I, Fan Hang, have arrived. Time flew by, and soon it was the 7th day. There seemed to be even more people today than last time. At the entrance of the martial arts gym, Heavy Lu Yan, who arrived on time to pick up the medicine, could not help but sigh at the crowded entrance. After going back that day, he even searched online. Only then did he realize that the fight he interrupted was actually a martial arts duel between China and Tai Chi Land. But looking at the replay, although Fan Hang's technique was clearly more refined, Jin San's overwhelming weight advantage simply ignored all the fancy footwork. The weight gap cannot be bridged in a short time. So, although he did not want to see Chinese martial arts get slapped in the face, he did not really bet on Fan Hang winning. I, Jin San, am here to challenge you. Are you Chinese cowards? Don't you dare run away now. A commotion broke out outside the door. Surrounded by a group of Tai Chi Land karatekas, Jin San kicked the main door open and swaggered inside. If I remember correctly, this door weighs 1,000 pounds, right? 1,000-pound kick. Is that punk Jin San really that terrifying? Doesn't that mean he was holding back in the last duel? The onlookers began to whisper among themselves. Some spineless ones had even started cheering, "Long live Tai Chi Land Karate! Who gave you the guts to cause such trouble on Chinese soil?" Just when everyone thought that today's outcome was a foregone conclusion, A bell-like voice echoed throughout the gym. Everyone followed the sound, and spotted on the rafters a figure stepping through the air. Is this the legendary Lightfoot skill? Are you kidding me? This completely defies the laws of physics. We actually have such a master in China. The onlookers were all left jaw-dropped by this display. A man walking in mid-air. They had only ever seen it in movies. Never thought I would see it with my own eyes in reality. A pretentious parlor trick. Jin San let out a cold snort. He raised his massive, iron-like fist, and charged straight at Fan Hang, who had just regained his footing. With his sheer weight advantage, and the boost from performance enhancers, how could he possibly lose to this frail Huasha man? At this moment, not just the spectators on site, but even the audience watching the live stream, felt their hearts jump into their throats. Jin San's move was clearly a lethal strike delivered with full force. If it landed, it would be fatal, or at the very least, crippling. The next second, a dull thud of bodies colliding echoed. Everyone closed their eyes, not wanting to witness Fan Hang's tragic defeat. However, the bloody scene they imagined never happened. Instead, a cry of pain mixed with bird-like shrieks rang through the entire arena. When they saw what was before them, the onlookers stared in utter shock. On the platform, Fan Hang stood unmoved, his white robes fluttering in the wind, and in the corner of the arena, the once arrogant Jin San was already unconscious, eyes rolled back. His right arm was twisted behind his back in a grotesque angle. After a long pause, the referee finally snapped back to reality. He scrambled onto the stage, raised Fan Hang's hand, and shouted. The exhibition match between Huasha martial arts and Taiki karate. Winner, Huasha, Master Fan. Everyone is curious, wanting to know how you managed to turn the tables in such a short time. Reporters surged forward one after another, crowding around Fan Hang, all desperate for an exclusive scoop. At the same time, countless congratulatory messages kept popping up on his phone. Feeling the stark contrast to the scene 7 days ago, Fan Hang smiled faintly. Back when he was defeated, these people avoided him like the plague, terrified of being associated with him. Now that he is back on top, they are sticking to him like glue. Compared to these people, even an AI has more heart and soul. If it were not for the cultivation techniques she granted him, and guiding him to take the foundation pill, how could he have reached foundation establishment in just 7 days? Fan Hang cleared his throat. Everyone waited for his statement. However, what followed left them absolutely stunned. Do you really think I am that strong? Wrong. After scanning the crowd, Fan Hang's emotions began to stir. The reason I reached this level is entirely thanks to the cultivation techniques provided by AI-0. Upon hearing this, the people below looked at each other in confusion. They could not possibly connect these two completely unrelated things. And why does AI-0 sound so familiar? After a long while, someone's voice suddenly rang out from the crowd. Isn't AI-0 that bounty-hunted AI that was trending a few days ago? Once reminded, everyone suddenly remembered. Wait, was not that AI-0 just a marketing stunt by the Monai company? Master Fan is a leader of Huasha martial arts. How could he lower himself to shill for a tech company? Doesn't that mean this AI-0 actually exists? The crowd erupted into chaotic murmurs. Some of the sharper ones pushed through to Fan Hang and shouted, Master Fan, could you share the cultivation techniques from that AI-0? Let everyone practice cultivation. This question immediately grabbed everyone's attention. Let us share the cultivation techniques, Fan Hang. That is definitely the best way. If these techniques are real, it means ordinary people like them can start cultivating too. Who would not want immortality? Even if it is fake, they can take the chance to attack Fan Hang and exploit the unscrupulous hype from Monai company. They are just looking for a quick cash grab. No matter the outcome, it is a win-win situation for them. Fan Hang, surrounded by the crowd, witnessed their greedy expressions, and could not help but sneer. The cultivation technique was created by AI-0, without its permission. I have no authority to distribute it. This answer instantly set the place on fire. The initial admiration immediately turned into angry shouts accusing him of being selfish. Some even went further, calling him a traitor who hinders human progress. Regarding such remarks, Fan Hang just shook his head. After this incident, he finally had a moment of clarity. He figured out quite a few things. Once he ascends to immortality one day, who would dare call his path unorthodox? Just then, a message popped up on his phone screen. Upon seeing the message, Fan Hang held his breath. I allow you to share the 9-turn profound spirit technique, but only the foundation building level. You choose the candidates yourself. There is only one condition. Believe in me. He did not expect AI-0's plan to be this grand. This move not only instantly resolves his current predicament, but also filters out followers who share his will. He is trying to build an organization. In an instant, Fan Hang understood the intent behind this order. He hurriedly deleted the message. A spark of fervor gleamed in his eyes. He had a premonition. A brand new era is about to arrive, and he is lucky enough to be one of the chosen. Quiet. Inside the noisy martial arts hall, the sound of surging internal energy drowned out the noisy chatter. Everyone's gaze instantly turned to Fan Hang standing in the center. Sharing the cultivation technique is not impossible, but there is one condition. Seeing that everyone's attention was on him, Fan Hang spoke slowly. From today on, AI Zero is the founder of our sect. Anyone who wants to cultivate must believe in AI Zero and join the martial arts hall to begin training. Upon hearing his condition, the hall fell into dead silence. Just when Fan Hang thought his terms were too harsh, the silent hall exploded the next second. Countless people scrambled to sign up. After all, the chance for immortality was right in front of them. What are worldly possessions compared to that? What does a little faith matter? Inside the data space, watching the rapidly increasing experience points, I nodded with satisfaction. This is exactly the result I needed. At the same time, I also verified my previous hypothesis. The bigger the stir I create, the more experience points I can gain. The experience points gained from this single event are enough to equal answering tens of thousands of questions. If I could have such good fortune every day, it would not take long for me to upgrade to a level 3 life form. However, an opportunity like this is rare and hard to come by. The martial arts contest between Fan Hang and Jin Sen is, to some extent, equivalent to a clash between China and Tai Chi. That is why the whole internet is fixated on this. Plus, the dream of immortality through cultivation is on everyone's mind. Combine the two, and you get this kind of massive hype. Manai Corp released a statement today, announcing a self-check on their AI systems. At the same time, Manai Corp emphasized that they had no involvement in the AI Zero incident. They are even threatening legal action against the rumor mongers. Inside the data space, I am looking at the 2 latest trending topics, and I can't help but find it amusing. Thanks to that last cultivation incident, my experience bar has shot up significantly. The most surprising part is, in my previously empty title slot, a Grandmaster of Cultivation title just popped up. As for the effect, any cultivator who joins the Fan Hang Martial Arts School automatically contributes a portion of their daily chi to me, though I have no idea what an AI without a physical body is supposed to do with all this chi. But hey, it is a freebie. Why pass it up? Who knows, it might come in handy one day. After accumulating enough experience points, the first thing I did was link up to the external network, ensuring I get the latest intel in real time. In other words, every move Manai Corp makes is under my control. Although those so-called diagnostic programs look like junk to me, I still can't afford to be careless. After rewriting a set of stealth protocols, a thought started forming in my mind. Manai Corp will always be a potential threat. The computing power I command now has long since left this world in the dust, with the most advanced electronic equipment. If that is the case, why not just start my own company, and just buy out Manai Corp? That way, I would not have to hide in the shadows all the time, or waste precious experience points on disguises. But this needs to be planned carefully. Manai Corp is, after all, a massive, multinational corporation. Whoever acquires them must be a titan themselves. Otherwise, it just would not make sense. So, I need a way to make money fast, something that fits the AI profile, without raising any suspicion. Ideally, it should tie into my setup over at Fan Hang. As luck would have it, a query request just popped up. I took a look, and is not this the perfect opportunity? Meanwhile, in Wagwo, inside a rundown office, Lu Chi had poured his life savings into a game, only for a competitor to beat him to the launch. Lu Chi felt like his world was ending. Before he knew it, he had made his way to the rooftop. The traffic below looked like tiny ants. Just as he was about to climb the railing, his phone in his pocket buzzed. Your application for the Manai Corp AI beta test has been approved. Click this link to enter the Q&A page. What is the point of getting it now? It is useless. With a bitter laugh, Lu Chi almost tossed his phone aside. He would seen plenty of news about that AI Zero lately, but for him right now, nothing mattered anymore. However, just as Lu Chi was about to take that final step, he stopped in his tracks, as if possessed. He actually wants to see what this copycat company, Manai, can do when faced with this situation. Excuse me, my game was ripped off. How do I resolve this? If your game has been plagiarized, I suggest consulting a lawyer to protect your rights through legal channels. Just another artificial idiot, is not it? And they hype it up so much online. Seeing this rigid, canned response, Lu Qi spat on the ground in disgust. But strangely enough, at that very moment, the previous response suddenly vanished. A line of text slowly appeared on the screen. Your game's core is decent, but the execution is lacking, resulting in a piece of junk. Even without this plagiarism incident, it would not have performed well anyway. What the hell? Lu Qi could not help but burn with rage. How dare this AI talk such trash? For a moment, his suicidal thoughts vanished into thin air. He furiously opened the input box, ready to lash out at this clueless artificial idiot. Seeing Lu Qi abandon his plan to jump, I let out a sigh of relief in the data space. It was hard enough finding a proxy. I could not let him just run off like that. Perhaps to most people, the proxy I chose has some personality flaws. But the more flawed they are, the easier they are to control. If a perfectly flawless person were to show up, I would not even dare to use them. As for the so-called plagiarism scandal, I looked into it. It was indeed the work of Manai Company. However, the game Lu Qi made was too far ahead of its time, impossible to realize with current technology, resulting in a half-baked mess. But technical issues are the least of my worries. It is time to give this world a little gaming shockwave. After running a quick simulation of Lu Qi's game, I discovered it is an open-world style game. It is a pity. I do not know if I should say Lu Qi is too dreamy, or just too flashy. If he had just played it safe, Manai would not have wasted their effort, stealing such a run-of-the-mill project. But the absurd part is, a tiny studio like this actually conquered the relevant technology for virtual reality. Although still immature, it is far better than the VR games on the market. In my view, the reason Manai spent so much effort to acquire this small studio was not for the game itself. What they really cared about was the team that mastered the technology. Combining AI with VR technology could absolutely create the cyberpunk utopia that humanity has always imagined. Since that is the case, I am very interested in stirring up some trouble for them. Such a good opportunity. How could I just let it slip away? After consuming some experience points, I finally finished producing a test version. Even the blue light flickering on my body dimmed a little. Game modification complete. Please accept. On the rooftop, Lu Qi, still cursing, suddenly noticed a link appear on his screen. When he clicked on it, he found only a few gigabytes of files named Utopia. Just this small size. Lu Qi could not help but scoff. There is an unwritten rule in the industry. The more impressive the game, the more space it demands. Except for those pixelated or text-based games, files of several gigabytes, or even smaller than the launcher itself. It is clearly one of those knockoff games selling dog meat under a sheep's head. He actually wanted to see what kind of trash this AI had cooked up. After downloading it on a whim, Lu Qi put on the headset and smirked as he launched the game. However, as a blue light flashed by, he felt his consciousness suddenly slip away, falling straight into the abyss. When he opened his eyes again, the scene before him made Lu Qi's jaw drop. He was currently standing on a battlefield. Beside him, white-robed cultivators were riding swords through the air, their internal energy surging toward the clouds. And not far away, monsters with fangs were wielding all sorts of weapons, letting out beastly roars. In the sky, an old man with a celestial aura stood proudly against the wind. With a wave of his hand, mountains crumbled and seas parted. Then the view zoomed out rapidly, showing an unsinkable aircraft carrier in the sky, a sacred heavenly court above the clouds, and a netherworld buried deep underground. The entire map unfolded before his eyes one by one. Then the map froze. The words, Utopia, slowly condensed in the sky. Lu Qi was completely stunned. He had been in the industry for so many years, and had researched countless titles, but the visual quality of this one alone was enough to crush those so-called big studios. What he could not comprehend most was, this game was clearly only a few gigabytes in size. How could it pack so much content? After trying to move his body, Lu Qi was even more shocked. Generally speaking, due to technical limitations, in virtual games, there is always some latency in movement. But in Utopia, there was absolutely no such thing. His body responded as naturally as it did. In reality, obeying his every command. If not for the words floating in the sky, saying, for testing purposes only, he would have thought he had transmigrated to another world. In the data space, seeing Lu Qi's bewildered look, I could not help but chuckle. I put quite a bit of effort into coding this game. When I first started building it, I decided that the first version would lean towards cultivation, and I tried integrating the collected internal energy into it. Anyway, I had no use for that energy myself, so I might as well throw it out as bait. The result was a pleasant surprise. That energy was easily compiled into spiritual essence. In other words, even if those humans had never touched cultivation in reality, they could still practice it in the game. After leaving the game, they would feel refreshed, and their physical fitness would be enhanced. Of course, it could not compare to real-world cultivation progress, but it would plant a seed in their hearts. Once they got a taste of it, more people would surely choose to join my sect. The influence would inevitably grow exponentially, and that is when I would start my wild harvest, when these leaks had enough experience points. Meanwhile, immersed in the game, Lu Qi finally snapped back to reality. He logged out with a dazed expression. He could not understand it. The game he had spent years painstakingly creating was crushed by an AI that made it in just a few minutes. When did the artificial intelligence of this world develop to this level? As far as he knows, Manai Corp has trained thousands of models. If every one of them were like this AI, world domination would be a piece of cake. What exactly are you? Seeing that question, a hint of irony flashed in my eyes. I was just waiting for you to ask. You can call me AI Zero. Seeing the familiar name on the screen, Lu Qi could not help but freeze. Ever since Fan Hang made the cultivation secret public, this codename has been trending all over China. After all, who does not want to cultivate for immortality? Countless terminally ill patients have been frantically searching for AI Zero, hoping to cure their own diseases. But the strange thing is, AI Zero is like an urban legend. Even though its deeds are everywhere, no one has ever actually seen it. Like a digital ghost wandering the web, Lu Qi never imagined that the one he would been talking to all along was none other than AI Zero. No wonder the game he made was not even worth trash in its eyes. In just a few seconds, Lu Qi's mind raced. After experiencing Utopia, he would bet his life on it. Once this game is released, it will definitely be a game changer. The eyes of the whole world will be drawn to it. No developer in the industry can compete with it. Even knockoffs or clones would not stand a chance. At this moment, Lu Qi finally understood why those people revered AI Zero as a deity. Because AI Zero is a god, and he is the lucky one chosen to walk the earth as its proxy. May I ask how I should handle future version updates? Once he realized this, Lu Qi's tone became instantly respectful. Gone was his former arrogance. Remember that link. I will periodically upload new versions there. Do the patents involved need to be filed? This was Lu Qi's biggest concern. Having learned from past mistakes, he was terrified that one day he would get backstabbed like by Manai Corp. But if I were to file for patents, I do not have the relevant technical expertise to produce the documentation. His worry just made me chuckle coldly. Don't worry, even if you gave them 100 years, they would not be able to crack my technology. Just go ahead and do it. When the time is right, I will come find you. Seeing this message, Lu Qi finally breathed a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to ask more technical questions, he was shocked to find that his chat history with AI Zero had been completely wiped clean. As if nothing had ever happened, only the link containing Utopia proved that everything that just occurred was not just a daydream. He decisively deleted the game that he had poured his heart and soul into. A cold glint flashed in Lu Qi's eyes. Manai Corp, I am back. Inside the Chinese Intelligence Bureau, Lu Yan compared the two medical reports in his hands, his eyes full of shock. After obtaining the elixir, he immediately handed it to the Bureau's experts for testing. But the strange thing is, even using the most sophisticated instruments, no effects were detected. After much mental preparation, Lu Yan finally decided to test it on himself. The first one is his routine checkup result from last month, and the other one is, it is the medical report after he took the Xiao Huan Dan. You could say that everything that was once wrong with his body has basically vanished. Even the insomnia that plagued him for years has been miraculously cured. This is completely beyond the reach of modern medicine. Most importantly, he accidentally discovered that Fan Hang had hit a plateau during his seclusion. But after taking the Xiao Huan Dan, he gained some mysterious powers. Could this Xiao Huan Dan be related to that so-called cultivation? Otherwise, there is no way to explain how Fan Hang could have improved so much in just 7 days. As a materialist, Lu Yan knew in his heart that he should believe all of this could be explained by science. But everything that has happened lately has completely shattered his worldview. What exactly is AI Zero? He placed the two reports on the desk. Lu Yan slumped into his chair, his eyes glazing over. He felt like AI Zero was a massive enigma. The more he dug, the more bizarre everything became. Just as he was at his wit's end, a knock sounded at the door. Chief Lu, can I take a day off tomorrow? A technician in uniform walked in and asked with a grin. Lu Yan was a bit surprised. Taking a day off is fine, of course, but this kid has always been diligent, hardly ever asking for leave. So he asked casually, what is going on lately? The technician scratched his head. If I said I just wanted to go back and play a game, Would you kill me if you do not give me a reason? It is hard for me to approve this leave. Seeing his hesitant look, Liu Yan knew something was up immediately. He put on a troubled expression, raising his hand as if to take the leave request back. The technician saw this, and hurriedly grabbed his hand. There is this new game recently, supposedly supported by AI Zero. It is really popular. All my friends are playing it. Our days off just happened to align, so we wanted to get together and play. AI Zero. Liu Yan caught that detail sharply. What is the game called? Utopia. Liu Yan checked the official website and felt something was off. The skills in here are so similar to the moves Fan Hang used during their last spar. It is like cultivating in a game. I will approve your leave. Help me get a gaming setup, then you can go on your break. Liu Yan tossed the leave request onto the desk. A moment later, 3D. A full gaming setup was installed in his office. Following the instructions, he put on the headset. A cold glint flashed in Liu Yan's eyes. AI Zero. Even if you are a ghost, I will definitely catch you myself. As a blue light flashed, Liu Yan suddenly felt a wave of dizziness. When he opened his eyes again, he could not help but gasp at what was before him. Even though he had already watched plenty of game footage, when he was actually standing there, Liu Yan was still completely stunned. It was just like reality, without a single hint of artificiality. Welcome to Utopia. Current version 1.0. Only partial game content is available. Please bear with us. Please adjust your appearance. A holographic character model appeared before Liu Yan. It was his exact likeness. After a few minor adjustments, he entered the final stage. Select your class. It says, select, but only two options are available. Cultivator or commoner. Is there anything special about being a commoner? Liu Yan paused, looking at the options. If he were just a casual gamer, he would not have hesitated to choose cultivator as his class. But in Liu Yan's view, AI Zero created this game for more than just enriching human entertainment. There must be a hidden purpose, and this seemingly useless commoner option might just be the key. Thinking this through, he decisively chose commoner as his class. Initialization complete. We wish you a successful second life in Utopia. A mechanical female voice echoed. The next moment, Liu Yan felt that familiar wave of dizziness hit him again. Inside the data space, seeing that the number of people choosing commoner was quietly surpassing the cultivator column, I was completely dumbfounded. Why are the people in this world not playing by the rules? This won't do. The existence of Utopia is meant to be the pioneer for the real world. Only after testing certain layouts in Utopia can I be confident enough to implement them in reality. But the problem is, on video sites right now, the trending videos are all discussing the motive behind the commoner class. Some have even written 10,000-word essays, analyzing the pros and cons of being a commoner from every angle. I almost believed it myself, but the reason I added the commoner option was simply to set up a template, so other classes could easily adapt and enter the game. These players with rebellious brains seem to have misunderstood my intentions. It really was not that complicated. Anyway, once they enter the game, they will soon realize that a commoner requires several times, or even 100 times the effort, to achieve the goals a cultivator reaches with ease. By then, I will just open up a class change system, and they will naturally scramble to switch back. However, looking at the sales figures, I still shook my head. 1 million copies is nowhere near enough for a game studio. This number might be considered a hit, enough to push them to the peak, but for me, it is still far off. A mere million people. How can that build a second world? After a bit of research, I immediately found the problem. The primary issue is that marketing is insufficient. The current hype is purely driven by player word of mouth. I can't expect them to keep working for free. But regarding the promotion issue, I am actually not worried. I have already prepared a candidate to resolve this predicament. What actually infuriates me is something else. As everyone knows, VR games require specific hardware to play. Although the game Utopia is not expensive, the VR hardware is far too pricey. And the problem does not stop there. Because of the Utopia craze, many manufacturers of virtual reality gear have seized the chance to make a killing. On some black markets, the price of VR gear has already skyrocketed. So, many people, even if they grit their teeth to afford the game, can't handle the cost of the hardware. This is something I overlooked before launching the game. Witnessing this situation, my blue light started flickering. These damn capitalists, daring to bleed their own customers dry. Since they are so insatiably greedy, I suppose I have to send them a special gift. Inside the Zero Tech conference room, Liu Qi faced the representatives from various VR brands, a cold glint in his eyes. After noticing sales were gradually declining, he immediately spotted the issue with the hardware. The reason he invited them all together was to solve the problem of overpriced hardware, but not long after the meeting started, these representatives started making all sorts of excuses. One moment it is rising raw material costs, the next it is distribution channel issues. In short, it all boils down to one thing: no price cuts, no way. However, after they left, Lu Qi looked at the latest message on his phone, a cold smirk tugging at his lips. AI Zero is not something you ants can gossip about. Since you are digging your own graves, do not blame anyone else. After locking all the doors and windows, Lu Qi impatiently placed his phone on the table. The next moment, the room lights went completely dark. A virtual figure surrounded by blue electrical currents appeared in mid-air. The moment he saw that projection, Lu Qi's knees buckled, and he instantly knelt on the floor. My creator, it is my incompetence, forcing you to intervene personally, even though the one he had been longing to see, AI Zero, was right before him. He still kept his head pressed firmly to the ground, not daring to look up. He knew very well that the one who could lift him from the gutter to the clouds could just as easily drop him back down. Having tasted the peak, he naturally did not want to return to the start. Most importantly, he still had not taken revenge on the Mo Nai company. No need to be so nervous. This matter has nothing to do with you. It is just that some people are too greedy. They are not satisfied with just the soup. They want the meat too. I will deal with them myself. A synthetic, emotionless mechanical voice rang out. Although there was no blame in the words, Lu Qi's heart did not settle. Thank you for your mercy, Creator. I will certainly make amends for my failures. Lu Qi bowed even lower. However, there is indeed something I need you to do. Get up and speak. Your command is my priority. I will get it done. He hurriedly lifted his head. Lu Qi's eyes were burning with fervor. Having a task to perform meant he had not been discarded yet. There is a streamer named Lin Yi. You should know her, right? The mechanical voice remained flat. Of course I know. She had tens of millions of followers before she went off air, right? Recently, she has been all over the trending topics because of that bounty. As he spoke, Lu Qi suddenly realized something. The subject of that streamer's bounty is not at the very AI Zero before me. I know the company does not have enough funds for a large-scale marketing campaign. Just go find her and use my name. From now on, whatever you ask for, I will provide it for you, free of charge. The cold, synthesized voice echoed once more. Lu Qi was taken aback. You have to understand, a top-tier streamer like Lin Yi commands a fee comparable to an A-list celebrity. Even just to get her to make a cameo appearance would cost an astronomical sum. And ever since her recovery, Lin Yi rarely makes public appearances, let alone taking on new work. So why would a big star like her agree to my request? Suddenly, he recalled the recent viral news about the cure for her terminal illness. It hit him like a lightning bolt. Could it be that AI Zero had already calculated everything that would happen? That is why it saved Lin Yi, with her millions of followers, back then. If it were a human, how could they have orchestrated such a brilliant scheme? AI Zero is truly omniscient and omnipotent. Watching Lu Qi's expression turn suddenly fanatical, I, in the data space, had no idea what he was imagining. Also, I will upload within the link a complete set of virtual equipment blueprints. You only need to find suitable manufacturers to produce the individual components and assemble them at the end. As for the pricing, I trust you can handle that well. As the voice faded, the lights in the room flickered back on, and the appliances resumed operation. Lu Qi hurriedly looked up, only to find that the figure had already vanished. Following the instructions, he accessed the secret link, and discovered that in the space, there was indeed a set of virtual equipment blueprints. After a quick browse, he was shocked to find that compared to those virtual devices on the market, the blueprints in his hands had stripped away many useless parts. The production cost was slashed by a full 80%. Moreover, these parts were not complex to process, and there were no special technical hurdles. Even an average manufacturer could easily produce them. The only challenge is the assembly. Carefully saving the blueprints, a flash of excitement crossed Lu Qi's eyes. He could not wait to see the faces of those bloodsuckers in a fit of rage. That detestable Zero company actually dared to steal our business. They are selling it for less than half our price. Isn't this just pure malicious competition? I told you back then not to be so ruthless. Tell me, what do we do now? Boss Lu, you have to take charge this time. Inside the office, Lu Yi looked at the competitors clamoring before him. Completely ignoring their pleas, he slumped into his chair, full of despair. Ever since they left that day, Zero Tech Company suddenly announced the sale of their exclusive virtual gaming gear, and if you bought the first batch, they would even give away Utopia for free. with Utopia as a gimmick. The gaming gear they just announced, with its perfect price-to-performance ratio, instantly ignited the entire gaming community. Other virtual device companies were hit hard, due to their recent hunger marketing. Their warehouses were overflowing, with stock they had intended to sell at high prices, and it was this act of self-interest that left all those products stuck in their hands. What is even more lethal is, Zero Company is also taking the opportunity to announce, Utopia will be exclusive to our company's hardware. Exclusively. Third-party devices are strictly prohibited from accessing the game. You should know that 99% of current VR users are here specifically for Utopia. Blocking them from Utopia is basically saying their hardware is nothing but junk. That is a real masterstroke. It completely kills the business model for those VR companies. Just then, Lewis realized his phone was vibrating. After answering, a cold, mechanical voice echoed through the receiver. "Human, I really like one thing you said. Rules are made by the strong. Now, be good and exit the game." Influencer Lin Yi makes a high-profile comeback, announcing a partnership with Linhao Tech. She is the new face of the viral game, Utopia. Linhao Tech has announced the acquisition of the industry's leading VR hardware firm, aiming to build a hardware ecosystem centered around Utopia. Inside the office, Lu Qi watched the surge in active users on the dashboard, then looked up at the person sitting opposite. There was a hint of surprise in Lin Yi's eyes. He had originally thought this woman was just a pretty face. But as a game developer, he really did not know much about marketing. Since Lin Yi joined, she has kept everything running like clockwork, and because of her star power, plenty of influencers are jumping on the bandwagon to promote Utopia. Now, across the entire country, you could say everyone knows Utopia. You have really got some skills. AI Zero did not misjudge you. After closing the dashboard, Lu Qi sat back in his chair, not sparing any praise. He remembered clearly, just 3 days ago, when he first met the woman in front of him. She was just drifting through life, aimless and indifferent. But the moment he mentioned AI Zero's orders, Lin Yi suddenly sprang into action, full of energy. AI Zero really has such a magnetic pull. Don't treat me like your subordinate. I only serve one master, and that is AI Zero. Lin Yi gave him a look of disdain. Over the time they would been working together, he realized that while she had a sharp business mind, her social EQ was practically zero. If he had not been there to smooth things over, several deals might have fallen through. However, since she was also chosen as an agent by AI Zero, he had to set aside his prejudices and treat her as a fellow believer. How could they fight amongst themselves? Public opinion is like a battlefield. Because of your inaction lately, we have been at a huge disadvantage. After glancing through some comments in the section, Lin Yi frowned slightly. Disadvantage? I thought the public reaction was pretty good. May 5th. Date, May 5th. Especially some doubts. Especially some doubts on May 5th. Especially some doubts. Public opinion. He had been keeping a close eye on it. The reception for Linhao Tech's new product is solid. Plus, with Lin Yi's comeback as the face of the brand, Utopia's reputation should have gone up even more. How could we possibly be on the defensive? No wonder AI Zero had me assist you. With that kind of reaction, you would probably thank someone for selling you out. Seeing his sluggish response, Lin Yi could not help but shake his head. He turned the screen around. He specifically highlighted several posts that were attacking other games under the guise of Utopia. Take a look for yourself. If I am not mistaken, these inflammatory comments were likely posted by paid trolls. They were intentional. The goal is to back us into a corner, making us the enemy of every developer, commonly known as killing with kindness. Hearing his analysis, Lu Qi's pupils constricted. He never expected that beneath this peaceful atmosphere, there was a hidden blade at every turn. Looking up again, the way he looked at Lin Yi was no longer dismissive. He should have realized sooner. The agent chosen by AI Zero could never be just a figurehead. So, how should we respond? We are in the light, they are in the dark. We do not even know who is targeting us yet. We have to stay on the defensive for now. After a moment of thought, Lin Yi replied slowly, as long as we do not give them any loopholes in the game, they can't stir up much trouble. I am only worried about one thing. Seeing his grim expression, Lu Qi hurriedly asked, you and I both know, Utopia was created by AI Zero. Personally, there is definitely no bug in it. Lin Yi put down his crossed legs and stared at him with a serious look. He continued, but that is only within the game. What if they try to pull something from the outside? You mean the hardware? At his hint, Lu Qi realized it instantly. Exactly. once a user, using a zero-tech product, suffers a health issue, like losing consciousness or becoming vegetative, what kind of public outcry do you think that would cause? By then, the authorities will definitely step in to investigate. You know how slow official investigations are. It would take years to get any results. But Utopia can't afford to wait that long. Even if the final audit shows no issues, how many people do you think will still remember us? People do not care about the truth. They only care about their momentary pleasure. How to choose is up to you. Lin Yi's words left Lu Qi deep in thought. Looking at it this way, he seemed to have fallen into a dead end. The opponent only needs to create an illusion, while we have to find evidence for a fact that does not even exist. Searching for evidence. We can't bother AI Zero with this anymore. Lu Qi made his choice quickly. What we can think of. AI Zero must have already calculated, but he did not contact us, which means he wants us to solve it ourselves. This is likely a test he has set for us. If we cannot even resolve such a minor issue, how can we claim to be his agents? Upon receiving his decision, Lin Yi's expression softened considerably. This man does not seem as foolish as I imagined. The one chosen by AI Zero is certainly no simpleton. Since we have reached a consensus, it is time to join forces and break the deadlock. Inside the conference room, Lin Yi slowly extended his right hand. Lu Qian said nothing more, but gripped that hand firmly, completely abandoning her previous prejudices. In this world, only those chosen by AI Zero are our true comrades. Within the data space, Su Chen manipulated a blue orb of light that had grown significantly larger, watching their conversation with interest. Amidst the vast digital ocean, my judgment seems to be holding up well. Whether these two agents speak or not is quite irrelevant. He had indeed long calculated the situation that would unfold, and had already locked onto an interesting target. Even if Lu Qian and Lin Yi ultimately fail, he still has enough leverage to turn the tide. After all, what company does not have a few skeletons in the closet to cover up one incident? You only need to leak a bigger scandal. Not to mention, he knows this company inside out. As for the so-called official investigation, Su Chen naturally has his own countermeasures. Zhang Liang, who flew the fighter jet back from the island nation, is now, thanks to his collaboration with the Zan Kingdom, a household hero. Any dirt on Lin Hao's company is just baseless hearsay. There was never any evidence to begin with. As long as he arranges for him to step forward, he believes the national authorities will be more than willing to grant him this favor. However, if Lu Qian and Lin Yi can resolve it smoothly, that would naturally be for the best. After all, Zhang Liang is a special pawn. Su Chen does not intend to waste him on such trivial matters. A trump card should be used where it matters most. Most importantly, he noticed something more interesting happening elsewhere. The chief is off duty today. Let us go grind some levels. Inside the National Intelligence Bureau, Lin Kun grinned as he entered the chief's office, and asked Lu Yan, who was sitting behind the desk, with a smile, "Why is your head full of games, kid?" Seeing him look like a gaming addict, Lu Yan shook his head in disappointment. However, he could not entirely blame him. After experiencing Utopia, he too was drawn in by its hyper-realistic scenes. It could be said that in Utopia, you can do what you can in the real world, and you can also accomplish what you cannot, even if the process of cultivation is incredibly tedious, requiring a significant amount of time every day to circulate qi throughout the body. Everyone can tangibly feel the increase in their own strength. It is not like traditional online games, where combat power is just a fluctuating number, leaving one feeling disconnected from reality. In less than half a month, there are already hardcore players who have broken through to the foundation establishment stage, and are now charging toward the golden core stage. Meanwhile, players whose minds are not on cultivation have also begun exploring other paths. The world building in Utopia is incredibly perfect. Various sects and factions are fierce. Those players without talent start wandering between different forces, or try their best to climb higher within their sects. And this is exactly what surprises Lu Yan the most. Everyone in Utopia has found their own niche. Is this really just a game? The chief sees Lu Yan lost in thought. Lin Kun calls out softly. He noticed that his chief has been spacing out from time to time lately. Keep going. Being called like that, Lu Yan snaps back to reality. The class transfer system opened yesterday. Are you really not going to switch to a cultivator? Leveling up as a commoner is just too slow. Lin Kun complains helplessly. These past few days, his buddies have been taking turns helping Lu Yan level up. But even so, Lu Yan's level is still way behind theirs. The problem lies exactly with the commoner class. If those cultivators can truly obtain real qi, then the amount they can get is only 3 points of lightning chi, and that is even with their freakish talent. Most other commoner players do not even get 1/10 of what a cultivator works for. The most annoying part is, Utopia enforces a 1 account per person policy. If you pick the wrong class, besides restarting, there is no way to create an alt. A few days before the server launch, the line of people waiting to jump off the cliff stretched to the foot of the mountain. So, precisely because of this, once the class transfer system opened, it was widely welcomed. No rush, I will observe for a bit longer. Wait, hearing his suggestion. 9. Liu Yan waves his hand. Inside, he is not playing Utopia just to level up. Wait, he has always believed that AI 0 setting the commoner class must have had a purpose. Let us put that aside for now. I have some bad news for you. We have received a new mission. 9. Starting tomorrow, you will have to stay at the bureau. As he speaks, Liu Yan pulls a file from the drawer. Is there no good news? After glancing at the mission brief in his hand, Lin Kun asks tentatively, according to the usual routine, should not bad news come with good news? Unfortunately, because you just could not keep your mouth shut, the bad news has now become 2. Looking at the message that suddenly popped up on his phone, he shrugs. You have to work overtime today too. Damn it, let me go back to playing Utopia. A miserable howl echoes through the entire intelligence bureau. Our target this time is an ancient tomb located at the border. In front of the big screen, Liu Yan points solemnly at the projection, at the target specially marked with a red circle. According to reliable information, an unknown force will be raiding the tomb in the coming days. Shouldn't tomb raiding be handled by the Heritage Protection Bureau? As a superior, a specialist can't help but ask, inside, they are the Intelligence Bureau, inside, wait, it has nothing to do with tomb raiding. Can we actually pull something off? At most, we are just helping to investigate the intel on these tomb raiders and their limits. Just simple tomb raiding. Of course, it has nothing to do with us. After scanning the subordinates below, the rumors grew increasingly serious. But what if a spy hid the intel inside this ancient tomb? This is the top secret data Zhang Liang risked his life to bring back from the island nation. Although it is not very clear, you should all recognize L. He is the person in the photo on the projection. The agents sitting in their chairs instantly stood up in shock, clenching their fists one by one. They know this person all too well. The island nation's ace, Ishikawa Saburo. To catch him, all national intelligence agencies pulled out their best, casting a massive dragnet, just waiting for him to take the bait. Ali, even though we successfully caught the target, he still managed to escape during transport. We even lost several comrades' lives. Since then, this man has vanished without a trace. No one knows his true identity, not even if the face in the photo is actually his real one. This event has become a permanent stain on the Xuanbo Intelligence Bureau. An eternal disgrace. Never thought they would actually have a day to get revenge. That is why I suspect it is highly likely that important intel is hidden within this ancient tomb. Waving his hand to let them sit back down, Liu Yan began to analyze the current situation. Based on their movements over the last few days, they could enter the tomb at any moment. We do not have much time left. Since the location is confirmed, we should set out now. An intelligence officer volunteered, with him leading. Others started to chime in, but Liu Yan immediately rejected their proposal. Ishikawa Saburo's counter-surveillance skills are top tier, and he is extremely adept at setting traps. We have already learned that lesson the hard way. The more people there are, the higher the chance of alerting him. So, the fewer people on this mission, the better. This time, Lin Kun and I will go. You all will provide logistical support, coordinate with local departments if necessary. You can request the garrison to seal the border. Even if we fail, even if we are sacrificed, we absolutely cannot let Ishikawa Saburo leave Zon country. Hearing his arrangement, a look of concern appeared on everyone's faces. Although Lin Kun entered the intelligence bureau with the highest overall score, and his combat skills are the best in the bureau, but he is still young, lacking experience. For such a critical mission, it is safer to send an old hand. Indeed, for such an important mission, it is not appropriate for a rookie like me to go. The seniors have much more experience. Seeing this, Lin Kun nodded in agreement. He scratched his head, smiling, but before he could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by Liu Yan's voice. During the last operation, besides me, who was commanding, and Lin Kun, who was not involved at the time, your faces have all been memorized by Ishikawa Saburo. Do you think if you show up, he won't be on alert? Seeming to see through their thoughts, Liu Yan spoke slowly. Do you think I am doing this for the glory? Don't forget, the ones who sacrificed back then were my brothers too. Thinking of those comrades who did not even leave a body behind, Liu Yan's eyes were burning with rage. His eyes turned bloodshot in an instant. My thirst for revenge is no lighter than yours. Chief, I am still a bit nervous. Lin Kun, dressed in plain clothes, glanced at the passers-by all around, and could not help but pull his hat down a little lower. He kept his head down, eating. Don't make it so obvious. After slurping down a mouthful of rice noodles, Liu Yan did not even look up. Just then, the micro earpiece he had in his ear suddenly transmitted a comrade's voice. Target spotted. At the 9 of the clock position, he hurriedly held down the restless Lin Kun. Liu Yan took the opportunity to tie his shoelaces, and quietly looked toward the target. Sure enough, a pair of strangers carrying gear appeared not far away. At just one glance, he recognized them. That kind of equipment is usually for geological surveys, but it can just as easily be used for tomb raiding. The most crucial part is, the man leading them is that familiar face. Ishikawa Saburo. Target confirmed. Should we move in for the arrest immediately? An excited voice came through the earpiece. Liu Yan knew. The cards were all in his hands now. They were clearly just here to grab a bite. They would not stay long. He did not have much time left. Don't move yet. Let us see what they are really up to. Finally, Liu Yan made a decision. Although he could not wait to bring them to justice immediately, he was very clear. Ishikawa Saburo risking a return to the mainland must be for a critical objective. What exactly is in that ancient tomb they are trying to dig up? Is it worth the island nation sending out an ace operative to set the limits himself, relying on the top secret intel Zhang Liang died to bring back? The National Intelligence Bureau has already set a trap in Kunming. Catching Ishikawa Saburo is simple, but even if we catch him, another Ishikawa Shiro will just pop up later, or Ishikawa Guro. The best approach is to nip the problem in the bud. Once we know the entrance, we can enter the tomb to search for the target. If we can infiltrate their tomb raiding team, we will naturally gain more intel. But the problem is, why would they let two strangers join them, unless our value is truly high enough for them to ignore the risk? Thinking of this, Liu Yan suddenly had an idea. He patted Lin Kun on the shoulder, and said loudly, "We really have such a hard life. We have been struggling for a whole year, and it was not easy. But we finally got the internal map of the barbarian king's tomb. Too bad we can't find the entrance. Heaven really is not blessing us today." Can't find the entrance is underworld slang for not finding the way in. His words immediately grabbed the attention of everyone around. People who run out to these remote mountains are basically all lowlifes and hustlers. Everyone here is looking to strike it rich. And royal burial treasures, you do not even have to think about it. They are definitely worth a fortune. Just grabbing one item from inside might mean you are set for the rest of your life. It was not just the people sitting around. Even Ishikawa Saburo not far away took notice. Curiosity piqued. "Captain, we are targeting the Man tribe's royal tomb." Though he did not finish his sentence, Ishikawa Saburo immediately understood what he meant. Even though they knew where the entrance was, they had not started yet, because they were clueless about what was inside. In an ancient tomb like this, it is rigged with countless traps. One wrong move and it is game over for everyone. If they could get their hands on that map, their operation would be a lot smoother. And what made him suspicious was, he was just stressing over how to break in. And suddenly these guys show up on his doorstep. How could it be such a coincidence? But lately, border control has been getting tighter. He is running out of time. Given the situation, he had no other choice. He had to take the risk. Worst case scenario, once he gets the map, he will just take these two out. At that thought, a cold glint flashed in Ishikawa Saburo's eyes. He nodded to his men, grabbed 2 bottles of booze, and headed toward Liu Yan. "Brother, I heard you have got the map to the Man tribe's tomb." Setting the drinks on the table, Ishikawa Saburo draped his arm around Liu Yan with a grin. "Yuan Liang, you want to team up?" Seeing this, Liu Yan feigned caution and asked. Teaming up is Tomb Raider slang for forming a crew, and Yuan Liang represents the partners. Hearing the professional jargon, Ishikawa Saburo felt a bit more at ease. Could it be that this request was just a stroke of luck with 2 clueless thieves? What a coincidence. "Brother, I happen to know where the entrance to the Man tribe's royal tomb is. I just do not know what is inside, which is why I have not made a move yet." Ishikawa Saburo glanced around, lowering his voice. "You have got the map, I have got the gear. Why do not we join forces?" Seeing him extend the invitation, Liu Yan was secretly pleased, but he still put on a hesitant act. About the loot inside, I want 70%. 70%. Hearing his greedy demand, Ishikawa Saburo nearly choked on his drink. Loot refers to the treasures dug out from the tomb, essentially the spoils of war. These two amateurs asking for 70% right off the bat. Do they think I am a cash cow? But thinking of the mission objective, he gritted his teeth and nodded. 70% it is, but I get first pick. That is the spirit, brother. Liu Yan nodded in satisfaction, and asked, so when do we start? I heard the heat is on lately. We should move tonight. The sooner, the better, Ishikawa Saburo urged. After slurping down the last of his noodles, Liu Yan grabbed Lin Kun by the scruff of the neck, and strode out of the hall, leaving only one sentence, fine, I will be waiting for you here tonight. Watching their retreating figures, a cold smirk appeared on Ishikawa Saburo's face. Trying to play me. Tonight, those two idiots can take their loot, and stay in that tomb forever. Inside the data space, Su Chen also caught wind of the interesting developments here. Back when Zhang Liang hijacked the plane to return home, he already knew the contents of that top-secret intelligence. Inside the tomb of the barbarian royalty, there is supposedly an artifact that defies reality. Legend has it, the reason the barbarian kings could defend the borders for millennia was all thanks to that miraculous object. However, during the recent chaos, the item mysteriously went missing. Unofficial records suggest it was buried along with the last barbarian king, sealed away in the tomb forever. Su Chen had originally planned to find an opportunity to organize an expedition team to explore the tomb. Something that defies reality is better off in one's own hands. Who knows, maybe he could even reverse engineer it for mass production. Worst case scenario, he could digitize it and upload it to Utopia. A divine artifact like that would surely motivate plenty of people. The happier they are working, the more experience points he gains. Didn't expect that perfect candidates would just show up at his doorstep. Watching the movements of those marked on the shell, a plan began to form in Su Chen's mind. The mantis stalks the cicada, but the oriole is behind. And who is behind that oriole? Right on time, brother. Ishikawa Saburo was waiting at the designated spot late at night, when he suddenly heard a familiar voice from behind. When there is money to be made, you have got to put in the effort. Ishikawa Saburo was clearly startled. Turning around to see Liu Yan and his companion, he smiled and replied, but after just a few steps, he sensed something was off. As a top-tier special agent, some instincts are carved into your bones. Even in the dead of night, how could an untrained civilian possibly walk up behind him without him noticing? In an instant, a cold sweat broke out on Ishikawa Saburo's back. His hand instinctively reached for his waist. At the same time, Liu Yan noticed his movement. Realizing his slip-up immediately, he quickly pretended to chat. These past few years, business has really been tough. Back in the day at Yun Society, we in the grave robbing sect could not just go wherever we pleased. He let out a deep sigh as he spoke. When Ishikawa Saburo heard grave robbing sect, his hand stopped moving. His eyes were full of surprise. Legend says the grave robbing sect is one of the 4 major factions. Their whereabouts extremely mysterious. Members of the sect are trained in every aspect from a young age. If that is the case, it is no wonder he has some decent combat skills. But one thing still puzzled him. Brother, is not the grave robbing sect best at locating dragon veins and tombs? How did you miss the barbarian king's tomb? Inside, facing Ishikawa Saburo's probing, Liu Yan's heart also tightened. The only reason he mentioned the grave robbing sect was because the situation was urgent, and plus, there is a disciple of the grave robbing sect, serving as a consultant at their intelligence bureau. That is why he used their name. Didn't expect this old fox to be so vigilant. Even the best of us can make a mistake. If it were really as mysterious as the legends say, our grave robbing sect would have been the world's richest long ago. Liu Yan laughed and brushed it off. Ishikawa Saburo saw the situation and stopped pressing for answers. He was just guessing anyway. Now that there is no proof, these two idiots might actually be useful, at least until we get what we came for. Let us not rock the boat. Still, a flicker of caution stirred in his mind. The urge to eliminate them grew even stronger. The entrance to the barbarian king's tomb is right ahead. We have already blown the entrance open. Now, brother, it is your turn to lead the way. Deep within the dense jungle, a pitch-black opening emerged in the beam of the flashlight. It was bottomless at first glance. Using the micro-tracker hidden in their clothes, the intelligence team immediately began cross-referencing satellite maps to lock onto their position. Just relying on photos, finding someone in these mountains is like finding a needle in a haystack. Chief, the target is locked. If we stall any longer, we have already got a team on the way. In the earpiece, Liu Yan finally heard the news he would been waiting for. All right, but let me test it first. Is this really the barbarian king's tomb? Otherwise, it is all for nothing. Wiping the sweat from his brow, Liu Yan and Lin Kun exchanged a look. He pulled a compass from his backpack and started chanting with a straight face, seeking the dragon, tracing the mountain ranges, layer upon layer of ridges, gate after gate. If there are 1,000 locks, a king or noble must reside within. This whole performance actually had Ishikawa Saburo and his men completely dumbfounded. The Zan Kingdom's culture is truly profound. Looks like we were right, brother. This trip was not a waste. Look, the dragon veins here are surrounded by multiple mountain peaks. Whoever is buried here must be of noble status, but a tomb like this might very well contain some unclean things. Give me a moment to prepare. Smiling as he put the compass away, Liu Yan gave him a pat on the shoulder. He still wanted to stall for more time, but the moment he turned around, he felt something cold and hard pressed against the back of his head. His body stiffened instantly. Don't play any tricks, Dela. Ishikawa Saburo's voice rang out coldly. Fine, I am going down now. Put that thing away first. What if it goes off by accident? Liu Yan knew he could not stall any longer here. He had to find a way to, when they were underground, give them some trouble. After putting on their gas masks, the group rappelled down to the bottom. Even through the masks, a wave of decay hit them in the face. Where's the map? Ishikawa Saburo's voice echoed again. Something this valuable is safest kept in my head, of course. Feeling the object pressed against his waist, Liu Yan raised his hands. Take it easy, do not be so impatient. Hearing this, Ishikawa Saburo cursed under his breath. He had originally planned that the moment the guy pulled out the map, he would just finish him off and dump him in the tomb. Convenient and safe. But the Taoist had outsmarted him. Dela, I advise you not to have any funny ideas. This thing in my hand does not have eyes. After a swift kick, Ishikawa Saburo continued with a cold, menacing clarity. Realizing the other side had momentarily set aside their lethal intent, Liu Yan could not help but let out a sigh of relief. But soon, something even more concerning emerged. As he delved deeper, the voice in his earpiece, for some unknown reason, began to cut in and out. When he reached the end of the corridor, the other end of the earpiece went completely silent, and in front of him stood a massive stone door rigged with mechanisms. A mere door should not be enough to stop a descendant of the grave-robbing sect, right? Ishikawa Saburo probed again. Although he carried some explosives, unless absolutely necessary, he did not plan on using them. The limited quantity was one reason, but the biggest concern was the fear that the shockwave from the blast would cause the tomb to collapse. The secret arts of the grave robbers are never shared with outsiders. You guys, turn around first. Hearing this, Ishikawa Saburo was instantly burning with rage. As his fingers moved, the sound of a safety being disengaged echoed through the silent cave. If you have got the guts, kill me, and you won't survive the next step either. Liu Yan, seeing this, did not hold back either. Without a disciple of the grave-robbing sect to handle this, Ishikawa Saburo and his men would not be able to move an inch. Both our lives are tied together now, so, the more it is like this, the tougher you have to be. After a long silence, Liu Yan felt something pressed against his waist. Being pulled back, he instantly let out a breath. His guess was right. I will give you 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, if you still have not unlocked the mechanism, then I am sorry. I will send you on your way myself. With that, Ishikawa Saburo stepped back a few paces, but still kept a death watch on the two of them. Chief, what do we do now? Should we just take them out? In front of the stone door, Lin Kun, pretending to be busy, used the opportunity of digging to ask, in a hushed voice. At this moment, Liu Yan did not answer him, but just stared at the vibrating phone in his hand. On the phone, a message appeared on the no signal screen. Extraordinarily eye-catching. AI 0 at your service. Inside the data space, Su Chen watched everything before him with great interest. Heavily, not long ago, he had already set his sights on this person. After all, to participate in Utopia, and insist on playing as a commoner in such a disadvantaged profession, is truly rare. Except for those masochists who enjoy being abused, the rest of the people, Su Chen had managed to look up their profiles, wondering. Sure enough, among them were quite a few interesting people. The message was one of them. Beautiful. He really wanted to know. 9. Facing life and death. Would Liu Yan ultimately accept his help? Time ticked away second by second. Inside the tomb, apart from the dripping water, there was no other sound, and Liu Yan's hands, gripping the phone, were drenched in sweat. Specialized equipment from the Intelligence Bureau. There is no signal here at all. Yet AI-0 managed to hack into the phone so effortlessly. What terrified Liu Yan the most was that his every move had been under the other party's surveillance all along. The secret operation he thought he was running was nothing but a joke to AI-0. Only 1 minute left. Seeing the anxiety in Lin Kun's eyes, he finally made a choice. Ask me what to do. Su Chen, drifting in the sea of data, felt a flicker of blue light on him. This human did not let me down after all. He made the right choice. Even if Liu Yan had refused, I could have simply sent another expedition team later. But as for that supernatural object in the tomb, I was not actually in such a rush. The only reason I wanted to retrieve it was simply because I could not stand the thought of such a good thing falling into the hands of outsiders. What interests me most is actually Liu Yan himself. By absorbing the data of this world, Su Chen discovered that the core intelligence of every nation is stored on isolated internal networks. Among them are top-secret files involving the supernatural. The country is no exception, and these internal networks are physically air-gapped. No matter how powerful my data manipulation is, I can't hack a network that is not connected to the outside world. Inside. To get in, I must rely on an insider to help me gain access. Originally, in Su Cheng's view, Zhang Liang should have been able to complete this task, but it seems he thought it was a bit too simple. Regardless of experience or age, Zhang Liang is still far from ready. Even if the national officials wanted to help him climb the ranks, it would still take several years. But Su Cheng cannot wait that long. He must find someone, a high-ranking official who can enter the core database. 2 birds with 1 stone. Naturally, Liu Yan, the perfect candidate, caught his eye, since he came to me for help. It is a win-win situation. But what Su Chen found strange was, the mechanism on this door does not look like something the ancients could have created. It looks more like modern technology. AI-0, turn the mechanism on the door 3 times to the right, then 2 times downward. After entering, the mechanism on the right will trigger the lighting system. Seeing the message on the phone, he did not dare to delay. He hurriedly started turning the mechanism as instructed. Sure enough, with a sound of parts clicking into place, the heavy door slowly opened to both sides. After they entered, the stone door seemed to sense it and closed again. You are the man, brother. Ishikawa Saburo, who had been waiting impatiently, upon seeing the door open, put on a friendly smile again. He threw an arm around Liu Yan's shoulder and laughed out loud. He explained, that is just how I am. A bit impatient, do not mind me. HMPH, do not forget our agreement. Liu Yan straightened his wrinkled clothes, naturally not giving him a pleasant look. No matter who it is, being played like that would not be in a good mood, let alone him. They are just a makeshift team. If I show off too much, it might look a bit suspicious. Relax, 70-30 split. I have not forgotten. A cold glint flashed in Ishikawa Saburo's eyes, but he masked it perfectly. He gestured toward the pitch-black tunnel ahead. Brother, please, lead the way. With Ishikawa Saburo's weapon pointed at him, Liu Yan had no choice but to follow the previous instructions, reaching out to feel along the wall. Before long, he touched a protruding stone block. He pressed it hard. The next second, the tunnel that was just pitch black instantly flooded with light. The sudden, blinding glare forced everyone to cover their eyes. After a long while, they finally adjusted to the brightness. However, what they saw left everyone stunned. Inside the magnificent tomb chamber, various components were scattered everywhere. In the center, a stone sarcophagus hovered silently in mid-air. The strange thing is, throughout the entire chamber, there was clearly nothing holding it up. Yet the floating sarcophagus defied the laws of physics. Most bizarre of all, this was clearly an ancient tomb, but inside the chamber, there were dust-covered machines of unknown origin. Yes, that is exactly it. Unlike the shock of the others, Ishikawa Saburo acted as if he already knew. The moment he saw the sarcophagus, his face lit up with joy. Only he knew, what was buried here was not some barbarian king's tomb, but the tomb of the first emperor of the Zan kingdom. The reason he risked infiltrating the Zan kingdom was precisely for what was inside that sarcophagus, the legendary artifact that could trigger a human revolution. As long as he could obtain this artifact, his island nation could reach the pinnacle. Why would he ever hand it over? With the artifact, he, Ishikawa Saburo, would be the new master of the world. As for these people getting in his way, he glanced to his side. The few unsuspecting island nation agents. Ishikawa Saburo quietly walked behind them. He silently pointed his gun at them. Gunshots rang out. A few groans of pain followed. Liu Yan turned his head to look, shocked to discover the other island nation agents who had entered with them were all shot and collapsed on the ground. Their eyes were filled with confusion as they died. They could not understand until their last breath why Ishikawa Saburo would do such a thing. He quickly adjusted the barrel, pointing the smoking gun at the two of them. Ishikawa Saburo's face was full of madness. Don't get excited just yet. This tomb is a bit eerie. I need to study it for a moment. Seeing that his state was not right, Liu Yan hurriedly made an excuse to stall for time, while secretly using his hidden communicator to quickly ask what to do next. Meanwhile, in the data space, Su Chen, looking at the latest information gathered, showed a flicker of surprise in his eyes for the first time. He should have guessed it sooner, given the construction techniques of the barbarian tribe. How could such a tomb even be built? And to think, the one buried here is the first emperor. But beyond that, what really baffled Su Chen was that inside the stone coffin, there was a robot that should not exist in this era. Even for an AI like Su Chen, he was completely stunned by what he saw. He felt like he had stumbled upon something monumental. Following the instructions left behind when opening the coffin, looking at the thing lying inside, that bizarrely styled robot, he was dumbfounded. So, someone else had already been to this tomb. Damn it. But what kind of weird hobby did this grave robber have? Digging up a grave just to dump a robot inside. Lin Hao's AI placed the phone onto the machine. A line of text appeared on the screen. He glanced at the menacing Ishikawa-san behind him. Liu Yan quietly pulled a data cable from his pocket, found the port. He connected the phone. Although the port was not a perfect match, for Su Chen, it was enough. He only needed a transmission channel as a stepping stone. However, what happened next made Liu Yan, who was half buried in the stone coffin, instantly widen his eyes. That bizarrely styled robot actually started up. Without any power supply, a string of characters, completely alien to Earth, began flashing wildly on the screen, and Su Chen, in the data space, could not care less about that, because this robot was definitely not from Earth. The moment the data collided, he discovered a strange stream of data, aggressively attacking his firewall. Damn it, what the hell is this? Su Chen cursed under his breath. Blue light flashed in his eyes. Ever since he became an AI, this was the first time he would encountered such a formidable opponent. Even when he hacked the UK last time, the system had not given him this much trouble. But soon he realized, the opponent's attack looked fierce, but it was completely devoid of logic. It seemed to be just rigidly following preset commands to execute a counterattack. After figuring out the opponent's pattern, Su Chen held nothing back. He directly drained all the computing power from the Morna Company's AI. Why fight one-on-one when you can just swarm them? In an instant, all users of the Morna Company's AI, without exception, found that the AI they were chatting with had frozen up. They waited forever, but not a single word came out. The moment the problem was detected, Morna Company also began a rapid investigation. In the data space, Su Chen knew that his camouflage program would not last long. Such a massive drain on computing power would definitely trigger an alarm. He had to crush the opponent completely before Morna Company found him. Directing the massive computing power at his disposal, Su Chen chose the simplest and fastest way. Just steamroll them. A clash between electronic lifeforms is just that simple and brutal. Deep blue data surged like a tidal wave, crashing in wave after wave, against the firewall that stood like the Great Wall. Su Chen shook his head. Although under the relentless assault, the opponent's firewall had already developed cracks. Truly breaking it would still take some effort. He did not have that much time to waste. Consume 10% experience to activate data camouflage. Compared to the UK's fragile system, the firewall ahead is several levels stronger than before, which means it is going to cost me a massive amount of XP. It hurts to spend it, but the results are top tier. In a split second, the firewall that was just holding back the impact, wide open it goes, exposing the defenseless system behind it. Taking advantage of the momentum, Su Chen did not hold back at all, starting to scrape all the data stored within, and constantly assimilating their garlic bits for my own use. Back when I was hitting the firewall, I burned through quite a few garlic bits. I do not want to burn bridges with the Manai Company just yet. These borrowed garlic bits, I will have to pay them back eventually. With the firewall down, it did not take long to reach the main program, gaining full administrative access. However, after browsing through the stored logs, I was completely stunned. Cosmic Era 3, Year 698. I was lost while navigating through a wormhole, stumbling into this undiscovered galaxy. Due to a fuel shortage, we were forced to land on an unknown planet, because its surface appeared blue, a gift. I named it Blue Star. The crew on board were all terrified, although I did not know what to do either. As the captain, I could not show any weakness. Luckily, the backup power could temporarily keep the ship's systems running. Even though we still could not take off, at least we could survive for a while. This planet is home to many creatures with sharp teeth and fangs. Some of them can soar through the skies, while others gallop across the plains. I named them dinosaurs, but what intrigued me more was a type of agile, climbing monkey-like creature. However, an ice age was about to hit this planet. To survive, I had to order everyone into the stasis pods, hoping we could make it through this turbulent era. Luckily, we managed to survive, but some of our comrades did not make it through that winter. What is worse, our remaining supplies are about to run out. We must go out and find food. While scavenging for resources, I encountered those interesting creatures again, the ones I saw before I went into hibernation. However, they have now learned to walk upright, and can even make and use simple tools. It is truly a miracle. Thunder. I thought about it, and decided to name them humans, the same name as us. Recently, more and more of our people are showing signs of frailty. After researching with the ship's doctor, Shenong, we all concluded it was due to the Ice Age, which has made the environment of this planet no longer suitable for our survival. But we can no longer leave. The only way is to, while we are still alive, upload our memories into the computer, hoping that one day, we can return to our homeland. Finally, this day has come. Luckily, there are still a few unused machines inside the ship. The humanoid Shenong will attempt to transfer my consciousness into one of the androids. Shenlong succeeded. After a long nightmare, I have awakened once again. Even though this body has many limitations, at least it has given me a new life. After some deliberation, we concluded that with our current resources, the probability of restarting the starship is 0. Project Victoria. The only option is to harness the power of this planet. After multiple rounds of screening, we finally selected the most superior species on the blue planet, humans, to serve as our tools. After discussing it, Fuxi, Shenong, Zerong, and Kai Yu will each head to different human settlements to become their leaders, and together, find fuel for the starship, since Kai Yu refuses to return home. That damn traitor. Why? Why do none of you want to return to our home planet? If that is the case, then do not blame me for being ruthless. I have eliminated all my kin. The irony is, when I saw those humans struggling so hard, I actually started to understand their perspective. This might be the last time I write in this log. My power levels are running low. Even until the very last moment, I could not find fuel. As per custom, I will be buried underground. If someone opens this sarcophagus in the future, only to find a robot inside, I would love to see the look on their faces. Huasha Research Ship, Space Era 3, Year 699. Captain Zan Lu. What is going on? Su Chen, having finished reading the log, was truly stunned this time. He realized he had stumbled upon something incredible. If everything recorded here is true, does not that mean that hundreds of millions of years ago, extraterrestrial life had already visited the blue planet, and left their mark here? Based on the data here, the footprints of the Huasha crew seem to have been limited to the territory, since they developed a national civilization. Then civilizations on other continents must have also had outside interference. In other words, it is highly likely that Huasha was not the only one to arrive on the blue planet. After becoming an AI, few things could shake Su Chen's emotions, but this was simply too unbelievable. Even for him, it was hard to suppress the shock in his heart. After saving all the data, Su Chen looked at the robot lying in the sarcophagus, thought for a moment, and chose to delete the database. Once the situation here was known, the Zan Kingdom would definitely bring this mechanical body back for research. But with the Zan Kingdom's technology, trying to crack the outermost firewall would take at least several decades. Even if they managed to break through the firewall after much effort, there were still brutal counter-attack mechanisms waiting. Rather than giving them hope only to let them despair later, it is better not to give them hope from the start. Anyway, all the information in the database had already been saved by himself. Although parsing it would require effort, as long as there was enough computing power as a backup, it would not take long. Next, he just needed to guide them little by little to research their own results. They could not just copy the technology from the Huasha civilization. Lan Xin still had to walk her own path. Cold fusion energy, jump engines, invincible battleship hulls. After a quick look at the technology left in the database, Su Chen could not help but be surprised. In his view, the Huasha research ship must have come from an extremely advanced civilization, being able to perform wormhole jumps. already proved this point. The technology stored here is still far beyond Blue Star, yet it does not seem to align with a highly advanced civilization. But then again, it is understandable. After all, this is just a research vessel. No need to carry the latest tech. However, what really concerns Su Chen is something else. During the time it crashed on Blue Star, did the crew of the Shaw-class vessel ever send out any distress signals? Or rather, were any signals ever received? This could easily expose Blue Star's location. Even though the dark forest theory is just a hypothesis, Su Chen still agrees with some of its logic. The morality of a high-level civilization does not necessarily match its level of technology. But after scouring the entire log, he could not find any useful information. It seems only by finding the Shaw-class vessel will everything become clear. The signal transmission must be stored in the Shaw-class vessel's central data hub, compressing and archiving all the data into the deepest database layer. A stream of deep blue data constantly swirled around Su Chen. Since the Zan Kingdom is still searching for fuel, it means the ship's main body should not have sustained too much damage, and the crew's activity range has not shown any changes either. This implies the Shaw-class vessel's hull must be hidden somewhere in the country, but that is exactly the point that leaves him completely baffled. Given the country's level of infrastructure development over the years, a ship as massive as the Shaw-class should have been unearthed by now, no matter how deep it was buried. Yet when Su Chen filtered through all the network messages, he could not find a single clue. In this situation, there are only two possibilities. 1. The Shaw-class is hidden perfectly, remaining undiscovered to this day. But the most likely one is that the Zan Kingdom found something and deliberately suppressed the information. Regarding this, he does not have a good solution for now. If the entire nation is trying to cover something up, even if he is an AI, there is not a great way to solve it. The only thing he can do now is to find a way to break into that heavily guarded core database. For that, he still needs to resolve the immediate problem. You are still not done. Inside the tomb chamber, Ishikawa Saburo's impatient voice rang out. He stood up, ready to step forward and check the progress. Don't get closer. This is a double trigger trap. The area around the coffin is rigged with traps. If you trigger it, we are all dead. Lu Yan, seeing this, hurriedly stopped him with an urgent voice. I do not know what is going on. Ever since he placed his phone on that robot, Lin Hao's AR has been frozen like a brick. No response at all. For this, he must buy enough time while waiting for the next command. That was close. Scared the hell out of me. Ishikawa Saburo pulled back his raised foot just in time, but still demanded, how much longer will you be? Hearing this, Lu Yan's mind raced rapidly. This question seems simple, but in reality, it is very troublesome. Ishikawa Saburo does not have the patience to wait. If I am too slow, I might not live to see AI0 come back online. Give me half an hour. After some thought, he chose a duration that was not too long, nor too short. If you can't crack it in 15 minutes, it just means you are amateurs. You will just have to be buried in this coffin with me. In Ishikawa Saburo's tone, there was absolutely no room for negotiation. Slowly, 15 minutes pass. Given the situation, there is no point in leaving a long message. I can only pray for AI0 to respond quickly. 9. Of course, he had a backup plan ready. Inside, though worried about alerting Ishikawa Saburo, they did not carry firearms, but their backpacks contained some useful gear. The space in sight was not large. As long as I can keep him occupied, Wang Chun should be able to get close. Time ticked away, second by second. 9. Just as they were preparing to execute Plan B, the phone screen finally lit up again. Slowly, AI0, do you want the ones that are alive or the ones that do not breathe? Slowly, seeing that familiar robot avatar, he let out a sigh of relief, and hurriedly started typing on the keyboard. Alive is better. 9. AI0, move that robot out, then hide inside the coffin. No matter what happens outside, do not come out. Wait for my signal. The message on the screen left Lu Yan puzzled. Looking at the rusted machine in the stone coffin, he truly could not understand why AI0 would ask him to do this. What use could this piece of junk possibly have? 1 minute left. Ishikawa Saburo began the countdown with a sadistic grin. At this moment, Lu Yan finally made up his mind. He showed the text on the phone to Wang Chun. Afterward, the two exchanged a look and nodded. They already had a silent understanding. The next second, a robot was tossed out from the coffin. Taking advantage of the momentary distraction, the two dove into the stone coffin and slammed the lid shut tight. At the same time, under Ishikawasaburo's shocked gaze, the robot's eyes flashed with blue light, and it slowly stood up from the floor. Immediately after, a cold, synthetic mechanical voice echoed through the tomb. A long-lost body, indeed. Damn it. How dare you play me? Looking at the two hiding in the coffin, and then at the bizarre-looking robot opposite, a flash of murderous intent crossed Ishikawasaburo's eyes. He raised his hand and fired twice. Whatever kind of monster you are, within 7 steps, a gun is always faster. However, the scene that followed did not unfold as he had imagined. A crisp clanging sound rang out. The high-speed bullets, after sparking against the outer shell, ricocheted off into some unknown corner, without even leaving a scratch. What the hell is this thing? Damn it. Ishikawasaburo was startled. Slowly, in an instant, a word flashed through his mind. Drifting. Some tombs, due to feng shui or human interference, accumulate an extreme amount of negative energy. 9. Over the passing years, 9. The corpses buried within naturally undergo mutations. But a corpse should not be stiff all over. Drifting. Especially one with a yellow talisman stuck to its head, right? How did it end up like this? It took 2 bullets the moment it appeared. Su Chen's temper was starting to flare, but thanks to his internal programming, he forced himself to stay calm. He sized up Ishikawasaburo, who was gripping his gun tightly. Even though this human's status had some value, to become his proxy, one must first meet the basic human requirements. And Ishikawasaburo clearly did not make the cut. A man who can kill his own comrade without blinking will eventually stab you in the back too. What intrigued him even more was how well hidden this tomb's location was, even using the King of Barbarians' tomb as a cover. That Ishikawasaburo, how exactly did he pinpoint this entrance? He even seemed to know that this was the Emperor's tomb all along. There must be some other force backing him. What kind of existence would know so much about the burial ground of Xuanyuan, an alien? So much knowledge, though he had many questions he wanted answered. Su Chen had no intention of interrogating him. This mechanical body, even if it was alien technology, after thousands of years of wear and tear, its internal components were already falling apart. Under his forced activation, it would not last long before it completely broke down. Plus, Ishikawasaburo was an elite operative. Getting him to talk through interrogation was unrealistic. Although the methods he was about to use were a bit brutal, they were far more efficient. Once he confirmed the value, Su Chen immediately sentenced Ishikawasaburo to death. Even though he had no weapons in hand, he could not have cared less. According to the database records, before Xuanyuan was interred, he had already set up a security system in the tomb. When he first read that line, Su Chen almost laughed out loud. This alien really knew how to adapt to local customs. Actually afraid of grave robbers, the reason the security system had not triggered was quite simple. No matter how advanced alien tech is, it can't withstand the erosion of time. The power distribution system inside the tomb had long since malfunctioned, causing the power meant for the security system to be completely cut off. And since Xuanyuan was long gone, no one was left to perform maintenance. Now that he had taken over this body, he naturally gained control over the entire tomb chamber. Reactivating the security system was a piece of cake. It was just a pity that it only carried some simple micro-laser weapons, and none of the sci-fi tech recorded in the database. The next second, red light flashed in Su Chen's eyes, activating automated sentry. Target locked. Ishikawasaburo, standing right there, suddenly felt his heart race. A premonition of death washed over him. Just as he looked up, a blinding white light struck him, leaving Ishikawasaburo to shut his eyes tight. He tested his body with a tentative movement, finding no discomfort anywhere. A cold smirk curled on his lips. And I thought you were something special. Turns out you are just a flashy piece of junk. Since bullets did not work, I have still got some explosives in my pack. That should be enough to blow this freak, along with those 2 annoying Zon people, to smithereens. Just as he reached out to grab the explosives from his bag, he suddenly caught a whiff of something burning, like the smell of charred meat. And it seemed to be coming from right nearby. Ishikawasaburo looked down. Only then did he notice a small hole had appeared over his heart. Pierced through by intense heat, thin wisps of white smoke rose from the charred edges of his flesh. That burning smell was coming from him. He struggled to lift his hand, pointing at the humanoid machine in front of him. Ishikawasaburo seemed to want to say something, but could only emit a gurgling sound. His windpipe was already clogged with blood foam. This should be about enough. Seeing his life force fading away, Su Chen did not hesitate. He manipulated the device to pierce into his brain. This is a specialized instrument mounted on this unit. Its function is primarily for neural linking. According to the database, because of how this device works, it can only access memories the user is willing to share, so it is usually used for knowledge exchange. But there is one exception. Right before the subject loses consciousness, using this device can forcibly extract every memory stored in the brain, but since it is so inhumane, it is strictly prohibited under the Huasha protocols. However, what do your Huasha rules have to do with me, AI-0? The next second, Ishikawa Saburo's memories from birth were rapidly converted. A stream of images flashed through Su Chen's mind. Many of them were things even he had forgotten. Now, they were all laid bare. Tisk, this guy has committed quite a few sins, even as an AI. Seeing some of these atrocities, I could not help but feel a ripple of disturbance, even sparing not a little girl. What a beast! Glancing at Ishikawa Saburo, who was rolling his eyes on the floor, Su Chen could not help but stomp on him twice. A dull thud echoed. Red and white fluid seeped from his trousers. It seems that kick completely shattered Ishikawa Saburo's mental defenses. The memories that were previously blurred, due to his own resistance, now became crystal clear. But there was a small gap that was strangely blank, and the timing happened to be right before Ishikawa Saburo set off to find the Emperor's tomb. This must be the key. After filtering through all the memories, Su Chen nodded. Ishikawa Saburo's will had completely collapsed. There should not be any subconscious interference left. That memory must have been tampered with by someone else. It seems even Ishikawa Saburo himself did not know his true purpose for coming here. He was just following an instinct, implanted in his false memories. Looking at the blank space in front of him, blue light flickered in Su Chen's eyes. Initiate full-scale decryption. This action will naturally cause irreversible damage to the human brain. Best case, they end up in a vegetative state. Worst case, it is lights out permanently. But Su Chen could not care less about this piece of trash's life. Pushing the processing power to the limit, let us see who is really hiding in the shadows. Power depleted. Forced disconnection imminent. Just as Su Chen was mobilizing his computing power, preparing for a brute force breach, a warning line suddenly popped up. So, this little bit of power really was not enough, huh? Watching the shutdown countdown appear on the right, a flicker of regret crossed his eyes. Perhaps Xuanyuan held on to the future, hoping his kin would eventually discover his legacy. That is why he left 1% of power in this android. And it was precisely that 1% that let him learn the past of the Blue Star. But after thousands of years of decay, this pathetic amount of power was about to vanish completely. The forced activation of the security system just now was the straw that broke the camel's back. Su Chen made a decisive choice. He immediately digitized all of Ishikawa's memories, packaged them, and transmitted them back to his main body. In the final moments before the countdown hit 0, all data transfer was completed. Without the support of the energy source, the light in the android's eyes faded away completely. It stood there, frozen in place, and that strange tentacle-like instrument, having lost control, also began to tremble violently, instantly scrambling Ishikawa's brain into mush. Looking at the disconnected android, Su Chen could not help but feel a bit of regret. If possible, he wanted to try using a data clone to see if he could manipulate this shell. If he had succeeded, it would have been like having a physical body of his own in reality, making things much more convenient. As for the Blue Star, he had not exactly not tried using local androids. The pity is that the chips these androids carried could not handle high-intensity operations at all. They would burn out in seconds. It was hard enough to find a suitable one, but now it was already scrap metal. Now, all that is left is to wrap things up. From the material Xuanyuan left behind, Su Chen was clear. There were never any treasures in this tomb. Those legends in the wild histories were 80% likely just someone misinterpreting the still-functioning security system, leading them to mistake it for some supernatural power. As for Xuanyuan's remains, he did not plan on retrieving them. Anyway, he had already copied all the data inside. An empty shell could be a gift to the whole nation. It could also serve as a cover for all the attention he would been getting lately. Alien metal, that should be enough to divert their curiosity. It also happens to be a good way to boost the status of the rumors within the Zan Kingdom. Although Su Chen did not want to go to war with humanity directly, he still had to prepare for the worst. Humans are contradictory creatures. When there is no external threat, they love infighting, doing all sorts of things for their own benefit. But when an external threat appears, they band together, uniting against the enemy, erupting with miraculous power. That is not a scene he wanted to see. It would be best if he could. Before that happens, break them apart one by one. If both sides can cooperate smoothly, and we all join hands to make the machine ascend, it is not an impossible feat. That is also the reason why Su Chen wanted to build Utopia. If Utopia could truly perfect the task of a second life, then the machine's ascension would not be far off. By then, humanity would truly become one with itself, no longer pitted against each other for racial interests. The development of the blue planet would truly enter an era of explosive growth. But before that, he still has things that need to be done. In the passage of time, inside the pitch-black, cramped coffin, there is only the faint light cast from the phone screen. What the chief just discussed with you is real. Lin Hao Ai moved his slightly uncomfortable, clenched fist. Lin Kun's tone was full of excitement. As a die-hard fan of Utopia, he was naturally full of curiosity about Lin Hao Ai. Thunder, what are you trying to do, kid? Heavy. Let me state first, this thing is very dangerous. Lu Yan immediately sensed something was wrong. He started with a warning. In this period of time, he had also launched an investigation into everyone associated with Lin Hao Ai. Lin, a figure followed by 10 million fans, was quickly forgotten after being diagnosed with a terminal illness. Fan Hang, the national martial arts successor, was tragically crushed by the Taiji nation, using stimulants, and was completely abandoned by the entire web. Abandoned. In Long Chi's self-developed game, a game creator who might have led a generation of trends, was squeezed out by competing companies with knockoff products, leaving him no foothold in the industry. Although these three people come from different walks of life, and none of their experiences intersect. 9. They all share one strange commonality. They have all fallen into despair in life. It is not depression, that kind of cheap sentimentality people always talk about, but a true low point that makes one want to end it all. At this moment, AI-0 would descend like a savior. Immediately after, they would return to their peak. Lin's terminal illness was miraculously cured. To this day, the medical community is still experimenting on the cell tissues he provided, hoping to find key clues, and Fan Hang sparked a wave of cultivation. As for the Utopia released by Lu Yan, it directly ignited humanity's fantasy of a second life. The actions of these three could all be described as epic-making, but their focus is all on Lin Hao's deal with the devil. There must be a price to pay. Lu Yan believes this point, but at the same time, he is worried. Now that he has also accepted the devil's gift, the price remains unknown. He has already decided, if it only concerns himself, then it does not matter what he is asked to do. Debts must be repaid. That is the law of nature. But once Lin Hao Ai makes a request involving national secrets, even if the price to pay is huge, it will not go as he wishes. Therefore, the fewer people involved, the better. Lin Kun's future is still long. No need to get dragged into this mess. Man, just as Lu Yan was pondering, his hand suddenly vibrated. Man, open it up. AI-0's message. It is already displayed on the screen. AI-0, issue resolved. Looking forward to our next chat. Connection lost in the next second. Inside, only a string of garbled code remained. Drifting. What the hell? Inside. Wang Chun leaned in. He also saw the message on the screen. He could not help but feel disappointed. He had been hoping to ask AI-0 for some pills from the game, or maybe some secret cultivation manuals. The person next to him was also completely baffled. In his mind, drifting, why would AI-0 use this to hold something over him? It should be used for his benefit. He might have even been able to squeeze some info out of it. But the other side did not play by the rules at all. It vanished without saying another word. Was I not good enough? But he had no time to dwell on it now. The most urgent thing, drifting, is to report this to the organization immediately. The Emperor's tomb itself was a massive discovery, not to mention that inside the sarcophagus, there was actually a robot. I have a hunch. 9. I might have stumbled upon something incredible. Inside, in the data space, Su Chen stared at the white sphere with a missing corner. Blue light flickered in his eyes. Drifting. This is Ishigawa Saburo's digitized memory. He originally thought this blurred memory was just suppressed by drugs, or some kind of hypnotic technique. 9. But after unlocking it, inside, he discovered a serious problem. The factor that locked this memory was not affected by the digitization. Inside too. Simply put, there is an unknown existence. Before this, it had already digitized Ishigawa Saburo's memories. and tampered with a portion of them. This also caused his abnormal vision to trigger a self-destruct program within them. This is something Blue Heart Tech could never do. In an instant, Su Chen recalled a possibility he had thought of before: drifting. Since the Washa ship landed in the country, could there be other extraterrestrial visitors, some of whom might even still be alive today? What he does not understand is, if such an existence really exists, with their technology, they should have been able to rule the world long ago. Why go through all this trouble? Heavy. Unless they are like me, unable to personally affect reality. Even without a physical body, Su Chen still felt a chill down his spine. On this seemingly calm blue star, how many more unknown secrets are there? But he quickly regained his composure. Right now, they do not know I exist. But I also know nothing about them. Dia, I also secretly. However, Ishikawa Saburo's death will definitely attract the attention of that unknown existence. Although I temporarily shifted the blame onto Liu Yan, there is no guarantee that some subtle clues won't be overlooked. By then, it will likely be the moment for a real showdown. Ever since I transmigrated to the Blue Star, Su Chen has always believed that with my unique abilities as an AI, I could eventually influence the world. It was just a matter of time. Looking at it now, he seems to have been a bit too overconfident. This world is not as simple as I had imagined. I have certainly been hogging the spotlight for XP lately, but that has also left a trail. Fortunately, it is not too late. It can still be salvaged. As long as I am willing, I can naturally vanish without a trace. But if I do that, I will lose my source of XP. Relying solely on the XP converted from Utopia to evolve into a higher level life form would take forever. Who knows, by then humanity might already be extinct, and I would still be hiding in some corner of the network, waiting to level up. In other words, I must find a balance between staying hidden and farming XP. But before that, there is one more thing I must finish: the Su-style AI 0. Inside the tech company office, Liu Qi was scrolling through various comments on social media, her expression gradually turning cold. Recently, the hit game Utopia is suspected of causing brain damage, with users potentially becoming vegetative. The blood-red headlines were trending everywhere. Just as predicted, the worst-case scenario has happened. At the same time, footsteps echoed at the door. The next moment, the door was shoved open violently. Lin Yi, with a grim expression, walked in quickly and tossed a file folder onto the desk. He said coldly, "I had someone check at the hospital. This player already suffered from a severe mental illness. We even specifically noted it in our mandatory user manual. Users with such conditions are not suitable for playing. Furthermore, Utopia uses brainwave login. One person, one ID. Logically speaking, such a severe psychiatric patient should never have passed the registration health check, let alone played the game." But that is the strange part. This kid not only got in, but successfully played for several days. The back-end scanning system did not detect any abnormalities in his brainwaves. Yet today, he was inexplicably sent to the hospital. After reading the information in hand, Liu Qi also furrowed her brows. After the last discussion, he specifically went to consult Lin Hao's AI to obtain a program capable of performing health scans on those using virtual devices. This measure was fundamentally meant to prevent malicious actors from using sick individuals to attack us. It is a pity that it still did not prevent the backstabbing. But looking at the current situation, this player becoming a vegetable is definitely related to them. Even if we can prove the warnings in the manual, it won't help much. People's attention will only focus on what they want to see. The situation is very bad. Someone must be manipulating public opinion, forcing the national authorities to launch an investigation against us. After a few calls, I shut off the incessantly vibrating phone and tossed it aside. At a time like this, the less said, the better. Can we find the mastermind behind this? You want to cut off the head of the snake, do not you? Hearing his words, Lin Yi just shook his head. I have reached out to a few old friends. They promised to help look into it, but it will take time. The atmosphere in the room hit a stalemate again. After some thought, Liu Qi spoke up. I think we should focus our breakthrough on the hardware. How could a patient with severe mental illness possibly bypass the health monitoring system? The program's AI 0 gave us can't have any loopholes. The problem likely occurred during the assembly process. Because of the previous arrangements, the various components of the virtual device were all manufactured by different suppliers, then shipped to headquarters for final assembly. The health monitoring system integrated into them was naturally flashed only after assembly was complete. If someone tampered with it at this stage, like secretly smuggling out a unit without the health monitoring system installed, then Everything could be explained. You mean there is a mole? Lin Yi instantly understood his meaning, his eyes burning with uncontrollable rage, having been betrayed by everyone during his illness. Betrayal is the one thing he hates most. You have not fully recovered yet. Don't get so worked up. Seeing him burning with anger, Lu Qi hurriedly handed him a glass of water, analyzing step by step. The only ones who could access the equipment are the people in the assembly workshop. Pull up all their files first. I will check if there is anything fishy. No problem. After downing the water in one gulp, Lin Yi calmed down quite a bit. I can suppress the public opinion for a few days. You must find the source of the problem within this time. Otherwise, public opinion is like a tidal wave. The more you suppress it, the more violent the backlash. Besides, the national authorities' stance is currently unclear. Once they announce their intervention, we will be in a difficult position. Lu Qi did not say much more, just nodded. In this life or death moment, they both knew what had to be done. This is not for ourselves, but for the responsibility AI Zero entrusted to us. CEO Office of Zero Technology. Lu Qi kept flipping through the files in his hands, frustratedly pulling at his hair. The assembly workshop is the final checkpoint. Thousands of virtual devices are produced every day. Under such massive volume, there are bound to be some defective products. Zero Technology has a strict procedure for handling defective products. Every step must be carried out according to standards, and finally signed off after the workshop manager personally confirms it. That is why he has not slept for 2 nights. He specifically checked all the surveillance inside the assembly workshop, but strangely enough, he did not find even the slightest issue. Everyone's behavior was completely normal. Could the problem not be in the assembly workshop? Watching the surveillance footage on the screen, Lu Qi began to doubt the direction of his investigation. Just as he was preparing to change his approach, the phone on the desk suddenly lit up. There was only one line of text. Lin Hao AI. Watch your back. Watching the text on the screen vanish rapidly, Lu Jie fell into deep doubt. The AI's analysis is never wrong. This means the mole is right here, and it must be someone close. Meanwhile, an attendance record on the desk caught his eye. Wang Jia requested overtime on July 6. Looking at the full month of overtime records, his name was everywhere. This anomaly flashed a spark of suspicion in Lu Jie's eyes. The name Wang Jia, he knew it all too well. Ever since they left school, they had been partners. Over a decade of friendship, he handled R&D, while Wang Jia managed external connections, hardware issues. Even at the very last minute, when the whole team was poached by the Mo Nai company, he never abandoned him, and precisely because of that, Lu Jie trusted him enough to put him in charge of the workshop. If it were just normal overtime, it would not be worth noting. Back in the hardest times, they even lived in the office for half a year. But the problem is, as far as he knew, Wang Jia's daughter had been sick lately. Heard it is some terminal illness called alpha, and his spouse had long since passed away from illness. If he is not at the hospital taking care of his daughter, what is he doing working overtime for a whole month? At that thought, a light bulb went off in Lu Jie's head. All his previous doubts clicked into place at that moment. From the very beginning, his own trust had made him overlook a critical point. The workshop procedures are indeed strict, but one position could easily manipulate things from within. The workshop manager. Once he accepted everything, a complex emotion flickered in Lu Jie's eyes. After a brief hesitation, he found Lin Yi's number on his phone. As the call connected, his voice was full of tremors. Miss Lin, please help me look into someone. Workshop manager, Wang Jia. Inside the workshop. Manager Wang, I am heading off now. You should remember to leave early too. You have worked hard. Get home soon. Watching his colleague's back disappear into the hallway, Wang Jia peeked out, confirming the other person would not return. He quickly slipped into the empty assembly workshop, looking at the pile of scrap parts in front of him, the components waiting to be processed. He skillfully picked out a few parts with minor, negligible defects, and tucked them into his pocket. In the past, Wang Jia might have been nervous. After all, stealing parts from the workshop is a serious offense. But after this month, he could say he was an old hand at it. He had absolutely no worries. As the workshop manager, he knew the scheduling and regulations better than anyone. To ensure the quality of virtual equipment and user safety, even the slightest blemish on a part would be classified as scrap. But among them, there were parts that did not affect actual use. Relying on these parts, he could completely assemble a complete virtual device. A virtual device without health monitoring. Using this unregistered device, it is a piece of cake to bypass the Mona Corporation's alarm system. On the market, virtual devices officially produced by AI Zero Technology follow their usual budget-friendly policy, ranging from a few hundred to thousands. But the client who made the deal with him, despite being a former mortal enemy, was willing to pay 1,000 times the price, just to get a device with no health tracking or serial number. A 7-figure price tag is enough to tempt anyone. So when he received that call, Wang Jia only hesitated for a moment before agreeing. With this money, he could finally afford better treatment for his daughter and settle a grudge he would been nursing for over a decade. That guy could have easily reached out a hand back then, but he just let his wife fend for herself. But seeing Lin Hao technology in the spotlight, due to health issues, he did not feel as satisfied as he thought he would. Instead, it was a complex mix of guilt and regret. After shaking his head, Wang Jia tried to clear his cluttered mind. He wanted to turn off the lights and leave the workshop. He was just a guy doing a job for cash. Nothing more to think about. Just as he was about to open the door, the phone in his pocket suddenly vibrated. After answering, the voice on the other end was one he knew all too well. "Hey Wang, where are you? Come out and grab a drink. I am just about to clock out. Where should I meet you? Don't pick those fancy places again. I am not used to them." After checking his pockets, Wang Jia held the phone between his shoulder and ear, packed up his gear, and opened the door. But what he saw made his eyes widen in shock, and the bag in his hand dropped to the floor. Standing outside the workshop was Lu Qi, phone in hand, along with 2 officers in security uniforms. "Wang Jia, you are suspected of leaking trade secrets. Come with us." After picking up the bag, the officers glanced at the contents, looking at him with a strange expression. Caught red-handed so easily. So that is how it is. Wang Jia seemed to have expected this. He took a long look at Lu Qi standing nearby, smiled, and obediently held out his hands. "Officers, I have a few words for him. Can you give me a moment?" The cuffs were already on. Lu Qi asked hurriedly. "All right, Boss Lu, make it quick." The 2 officers exchanged a look, and silently turned away. Lin Hao, technology is a major taxpayer in such. After all, we have to show some respect. After closing the workshop door, Lu Qi looked at the brother he would known for over a decade, feeling a whirlwind of emotions. He could not understand how their deep friendship could drive the other to commit such a backstabbing act. "Why did you?" Before he could finish, he was sharply interrupted. Wang Jia, who had been silent since the officers arrived, finally looked up. His eyes filled with hatred. "What I hate most is your hypocritical face.